Hello and welcome to another episode of Video Game Logic. Today's show was recorded on September the 13th, 2016. I'm your host, Gaming Psychologist, and with me, as always, the Corrupted.
Caffeine Rage.
On today's show, we will be discussing, of course, the games that we played, the PS4 Slim and PS4 Pro coming out soon, no mod support for Fallout 4 or Skyrim Special Edition on the PS4, Steam makes some changes to its review system, Armello is not getting DLC on GOG. We'll have our bi-weekly game club of Papers, Please. We'll have our community corner, our Steam Weekly Deals discussion, and our new game club poll. And, as always, timestamps will be in the show notes following each of these respective topics. And that was one hell of a mouthful to spit out in one take.
My.
I screwed up. I'm not going to reveal our secret idea that we came up with out of my screw up, but I screwed up the first line and then got it all right on the second take. That's pretty good. I mean, if we edit some of the topics out just for clarity, there were 9 things I had to read off.
Yeah, which sequence. We may want to, now looking at this, we may want to just do the poll immediately after the game club, move those together.
We can do that, but I'm not going to go back and edit it or re-record it, so... If it winds up shuffled in the notes, well, there you go. What's up, Rach? How you doing this week?
Doing all right. It's been an interesting time because I'm trying to figure out what I want to do exactly with my YouTube channel.
Right. You know, I ask you that question every week, and like every time we record something ever, like we don't talk to each other almost every day.
Yeah, really.
Like, we don't talk to each other usually on Thursdays, because that's Katie and I do stuff Thursday night. And then Sundays, because Sundays is date night. And I think every other night of the week we talk to each other, unless like one of us is sick or something.
Or I'm just seriously nocturnal.
Yeah.
Which does happen from time to time. The joys of insomnia.
I don't have to worry about those joys. I'm not an insomniac. Being able to not sleep standing up is the only thing that keeps me from being a narcoleptic. I can, like, if I sit down or lay down and I'm even like remotely tired, I'll just fall asleep like that.
Well, I get very bad insomnia at times, and it also pushes me to the point where I'm so tired I get punch drunk. So I start getting really weird. I mean, weirder than usual, I should say.
Still not as weird as me. So I took.
As a matter of fact, that's where the choosing came from originally.
Well, that was a good one. That's good. I took you away though when you were in the middle of saying you weren't sure what to do with your channel. So let's steer back to that. What are you in the middle of or deciding?
Well, it's called. I went to record a little bit of RimWorld.
Oh, okay.
And
I know about this.
Yeah, I ended up recording 7 episodes without even realizing I recorded 7 episodes. Because I would do the full half an hour, basically toggle my recording software off and on to break the file, take a drink of water, and then start the next one.
Right.
And I wasn't keeping count of exactly how many I recorded. So when I had a coughing fit in one of them and realized my voice is feeling a little scratchy, go to leave a note file in my recordings so I know where to edit out that cough.
Right.
And I realized there's 7 files there.
I think it's beautiful that you enjoy a game that much, Rage.
Yeah, and I'm actually thinking about doubling up the episodes and doing maybe one at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon and one at 11. You know, basically stagger enough where it won't cause issues with the automatic adding in the playlist.
Yeah.
Because playlists can be a little bit finicky at times to begin with if you have multiple things added at once. It's something that I'm toying around with. I'm not sure if I want to do it yet. But if not, then I'm recorded all the way till late October.
Well, I'm sure Spaceman would be happy if you do 2 a week. because you've got him hooked on that game.
Yeah, I got a few people watching. I have Kyle watching. I have Spaceman watching. It's weird. I have people watching my content. So it's something that I'm toying around with. The only problem with it is that I go from 8 videos a week to 10 videos a week if I do it.
Yeah.
But RimWorld is also a very quick render because it's a 2D game.
Right. Yeah, 10 videos a week is too rich for my blood. I'm doing good if I can manage like 5 videos a week. The magic 7 happens sometimes, but I do pretty good to get 4 or 5 videos a week. I'm pretty happy with that.
Lucky 7's happen, and then you go berserk and start dealing 7,777 damage to everything.
Yes, that's exactly what I do. You know me. Got that exactly right. Oh, well, I did not have... I had a very normal, boring week. I did spend a lot of time fighting abandonware titles. Us playing...
Welcome to my world, because I actually, for the choosing a few times, looked at abandonware titles, and I still have some on my game list that I'm going to do eventually.
Yeah, I got... so since we started playing Mech Warrior Online this past week, I got really nostalgic for all my old Mech Warrior games.
Yeah, you corrupting the VGL Game Club poll?
See, you say that, and there is certainly a chance that could have happened, and I might have intended to sway people, but Mech Warrior Online got, what, 7 votes last time? Or something like that? It got a bunch. So, if those people could have just voted for it twice. Regardless, I've been feeling nostalgic for all of my glory days of playing Mech Warrior. So the easiest way to do it actually is to get them abandonware style, because there's a couple of websites that have them.
Yeah, there's just... It's sad that some games it's just literally impossible to get digitally, and they're completely out of print otherwise.
Yeah. Mech Warrior 4 Mercenaries was pretty easy because I don't know if they were a company or a group.
Yeah, there was a giveaway that actually gave away the multiplayer component of Mech Warrior 4.
Yeah.
And you're able to do some things with it to get the single player working.
Right, but there was a group that called themselves Mech Tech. Again, I don't know if it was a company or just a group of modders or what, but they made the game where it basically just works. I had Windows 7 compatibility mode, or anything. If you actually have Windows 7, or just run it in Windows 7 compatibility mode, and it works pretty fine. I had some weird problems with my graphics card with my RX 480. For some reason, the game did not like it, and it took me a while to get it working properly. But Mech Commander, on the other hand, is a different story. I've been trying to get it to work for 4 days now, just a little bit along each day. So far, no success.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to augment the game club list with some abandonware. Granted, it does get into a moral gray area, because where is the line drawn on abandonware?
Yeah.
And also, you start getting to the whole thing, well, when is a game really abandoned? The digital copies, does that count? If the studio shut down, could you count that as abandonware? Because that's what some people actually do.
Yeah. I mean, I personally, if the game's no longer supported, or if the developer is dead.
Yeah.
Really, for me, it's more about the support. Like, if nobody is supporting it at all, except for, modders or whatever, abandonware. And then it's a little bit more gray if a studio is shut down. It's like, well, is it still purchasable? Is it not still purchasable? That sort of stuff. But, I mean, the Mech Warrior series, the old games, haven't been supported for
decades.
Over a decade for the most recent one.
Well, the older ones is decades now.
Yeah, the older ones are decades. So, I think we're in the clear on those. But, yeah. I got out my joystick this week. And
please put your pants back on.
I played some Mech Warrior Online with it, and I got...
Yeah, you're a terrible shot with that.
I'm getting better. It's been a long time since I've used a joystick for anything other than flight. Yeah, tee-hee, penis jokes. But anyways, using a joystick for anything other than flight.
Well, what can I say? I like to push your buttons.
But, yeah, you do. But I'm getting better
or
with it.
Otherwise, you make it triggered. Joystick.
Wink. But anyways, I think I've said anyways like 4 times now.
Anyways.
I have been I had to mess with the settings to get calibrated properly. Because I wish I had foot pedals. If I had foot pedals to actually turn my mech instead of using the yaw function of the joystick. Because in order to, like, if you want to turn your torso one direction and your mech body the other direction, it's like, I don't know, you're like trying to do some kind of crazy color guard thing with a baton. It's like you're just like rolling your hand around everywhere. It's impossible. So I disabled that yaw function and I started doing better. And then I've played a couple of tests, getting it calibrated for MechWarrior 4 Mercenaries, a couple of test games. And I'm getting better. By the time we're ready to do, unless like the poll changes in the next hour, by the time we're ready to do MechWarrior Online for the next game club, I will be better. I promise. But since we're starting to talk about games, let us shift on to the games that we played this week.
Shift? Really?
Yes.
Well, I guess I'm up first then.
Yes, you are.
Well, both of us played this, but only I had it on my games list. Rocket League, we played a little bit of this together, the new Rumble mode.
Yes.
That was a stupid amount of fun, and probably the most fun I've had in Rocket League, to be perfectly honest. Not to say that I don't like Rocket League, but adding essentially a Mario Kart element of just random weapons and power-ups adds so much to that game. Yeah.
It's a stupid game mode, but like that's the point, and it's hilarious. Like there's crazy stuff that happens. I mean, being skillful definitely still helps.
Yeah.
I mean, I was getting some aerial shots in and stuff, just like if we were playing regular Rocket League. But I mean, suddenly from out of nowhere, a giant
boxing glove
punches the ball away from you, or someone zooms in front of you with spikes and punctures the ball and runs away with it. It's like, well, that happened.
Yeah, that was a thing. I do wish that they went a little bit further with it, and on top of the power-ups had a non-standard arena. Maybe even the circular arena from the labs.
Yeah.
But, something that's not a regular soccer pitch, football pitch. Maybe have it where has a 90-degree angle or something. Or, just something where it's not just a standard soccer field. I think would have been a little bit more interesting, but it's still a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah. I mean, they might do some stuff with it.
Yeah.
They may got added. So.
Yeah, they may add some more to it. And it does seem like the Rumble mode is very popular.
Yeah. There were, 18,000 players in Rumble mode whenever we played Saturday night?
Yeah, it was just insane.
Which usually there's 18,000 players online altogether. Mm-hmm. So, and the other modes were just as full as they always were.
Well, also, since the last time we played, the Xbox version has come out. I don't think it was out last time we played.
Does the Xbox version have crossplay with PC and PS4?
I think it has crossplay with PC. I'm not sure about Xbox to PlayStation, because Sony are a bunch of dumbasses and dicks, but we're going to get into that later.
Yeah, I'm going and checking really quickly to see if it has crossplay with.
Yeah, essentially, Sony does everything that they can to block crossplay between the two consoles. They'll allow it at times with the PC version. I mean, just see Portal 2, for example. But they'll block it to the Xbox version.
Yeah, so the Xbox version does have crossplay with the PC, but not with the PS4 at this time. Yeah.
So essentially, if you want to be able to play with everyone, get it on PC.
And according to this little article here from Game Rant, Psychologist, the developers, are already ready to enable crossplay between Xbox and PS4 as well. They just need Sony's approval.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Well, that's getting into a later topic.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so ready to rain on Sony.
we're going to get to. They're going to be the biggest portion of this episode for sure.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here. I've already drank my coffee. I'm all caffeinated up, ready to go.
I've got alcohol. So I'm ready.
Well, see, you have the depressant. I have the stimulant.
Oh, you stimulate something, all right.
Oh, my.
Wink. But
So, do I stimulate you?
yeah, you do, baby. Touching myself right now.
Whipping out that joystick.
Yeah, I am.
Pushing all those buttons.
I'm going to wiggle it around.
Well, just don't twist it too much.
Oh, well, twist it just right.
And there goes all our listeners.
Welcome to the fan fiction edition of VGL Podcast. Wink. Kyle, you have fun drawing that one. I've got a huge shit-eating grin on my face. I'm very proud of that right now in this moment.
I'll be shocked if Kyle draws that.
Kyle, draw that. You did Fat Hitler. Come on. You can do this. Which, by the way, anyone listening, if you haven't went and checked out Kyle's Fat Hitler, that is hilarious.
Yeah, it has been retweeted on the VGL Twitter, at VGL on Twitter. Or VGL Podcast, I should say. If you don't see it, just go over to the media section, and that's where you'll see a lot of Kyle stuff, actually.
And Fat Hitler's pretty obvious, so.
Well, it's not like he could hide very well.
Touché. So.
Just imagine the size of the door to his bunker.
No. Okay, let's try and save this. Rage, do you have anything else you want to say about Rocket League's new mode?
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about with this mode. They also added a crate system, which I understand why they added a crate system. It allows further development of the game just because it gets to the free-to-play money, essentially.
Yep.
But, I'm tired of just seeing crates.
Right.
Granted, this is probably the best implementation of it, where it's just cosmetics. And they did add a trading system, so if by some miracle you have somebody that wants to give it away, you are able to trade for the crate exclusive cosmetics. But the thing is that that's not going to happen, and they have made it so that the inventory cannot be accessed by Steam. It has to be through the in-game inventory system. Partly because of the whole clusterfuck around CSGO and its gambling. That's actually what they cited, by the way.
Yeah. Well, you can take inventory you possess and trade in 5 items, like trade them into the game or whatever, 5 items, and then you get 1 piece of equipment or cosmetic stuff that's from the next tier up. So that's at least... I mean, that's nice. At least you don't have to, if you want to get something real bad, you got a crap ton of common items, trade them in to try and get more rare stuff that you want.
Yeah, but the thing is, still getting those common items is expensive.
True.
It's the TF2 hat system all over again, where the most sought after hat is literally thousands of dollars. It's just insane how much digital items are, the price of them. Whenever the market decides, which I understand, that is supply and demand, and these very sought after items, the rare ones, are highly limited. But it's just mind-boggling to me. Maybe it's just, I don't have the disposable income, and I'm from the mindset, I'm from the school still of, you buy the game, you get the game. You don't have to get, the 40,000 DLC packages. You don't have to buy the game multiple times from different stores to get the exclusive DLC missions from those stores.
Back in my day, I bought a game and it was...
Back in my day, I bought a game, blew in the cartridge, and put it in the damn console.
Vote Rage 2016. Make gaming great again. Oh, okay. I don't really have anything else to add. I don't mind the crate system. I will never use it.
Yeah,
but...
it's one of those things that kind of annoys me, especially it annoys me a lot more in a game that you purchase. You know, in a non-free-to-play game, it's rubs me a lot more the wrong way than it is in a free-to-play game. It bugs me more in Rocket League than it does in MechWarrior by far.
Yeah.
Partly because Rocket League has the crate system, but it also has a ton of cosmetic DLCs. It has, half a dozen already?
I'm not sure. A few. Plus the cars.
Yeah, let's see. Actually, let's go see just how much DLC they have for Rocket League Store. They have... Oh, no, they have a lot more. I guess I wasn't paying attention that much. They have 12 DLCs. Various car packs and cosmetic packs. They have Revenge of the Battle Cars. They have Back to the Future. They have the Batmobile from the not-so-great Batman vs. Superman. So, yeah, it's one of those things that... It feels like they're trying to have it both ways. They're wanting to have those free-to-play bucks, but at the same time, they're trying to shove out as much cosmetic DLC as well. That's not related. And it just feels very greedy.
Yeah.
But like I said, maybe it's just, you know, the school of gaming that I come from. So it could be me that's the problem, not the developers and the publishers. And that's very possible. Well, I think I'm done ranting about that, so let's talk about something else, I guess.
Okay. Talk about your next game where you show people your penis.
Yeah, Intensive Exposure. a flashing simulator, essentially. And this is going to shock you. I had fun with this game.
Wow. I'm impressed.
It's not deep. It doesn't have a lot of meat on the bones, but it's also fucking cheap. It's one of those games that it's very much an impulse buy item, and I imagine during sales it'll probably drop down to the $2 to $3 range. Mm-hmm. Which, yeah, makes it so that there's not a lot of to expect from the game. So it comes down to more, is this game fun for 15 to 30 minutes, you know, in short bursts? And, yeah, for the most part, the premise of the game is that you're a guy walking around in a trench coat showing your dick to people. Well, to women. And running from the cops. And that's literally the game. You got 3 hits, either being slapped by women who... Some of them take offense of seeing some junk. And 3 taser hits. The real shortcoming of the game, if you, outside of shrinkage, wink, is that it only has 3 levels. But I'm also looking at this game and thinking, this game is good for, you just, pick it up, play for a little bit, and then put it back down. It's not going to be something that people grind on and play for hours and hours. So, right. Having a short burst game, I'm being more lenient with it than I think I would if it was also, if it was up to the $10 range. And outside of just content, the other problem I had with it was that the camera at times was a little bit wonky. If you look at the screenshots on this, the second screenshot, it shows it typically is from a not quite an isometric viewpoint. It's above you, and you're able to see yourself walking around, which it does like a kid with an action figure. All the models are just voxels, and they do the South Park style of walking. Where the model just kind of waddles back and forth as it moves. Right. Which for the art style is fine. But whenever you're flashing someone, it drops the camera down and to basically the person's perspective that you're flashing, or if there's multiple people, so you can see multiple people reacting. Yep. And at times, it's hard to see the cops coming because the camera could go if there's a wall it can cause the camera to freak out. And on the third level, the museum, there's a wall that goes through the middle of the level, going from left to right, and they don't have it where the wall goes partially transparent, or it would have been fine if the wall either went transparent or if it was a shorter wall, so you could see what was going on, or even if there was windows on the wall so you could see what was going on. But because there isn't, it gives you a blind spot that is very apparent. I mean, granted, you can work around it, but at the same time, it's something that I think they should have worked on.
Yeah.
And it does seem like the game is getting a lot of post-launch release, or post-launch support. They're releasing a cosmetic pack for it that has Harambe the gorilla.
Now with a wider variety of dongs.
Yeah. Go cross species.
I mean, it looks really stupid, but in a good way.
It's stupid, but it's also fun, and it's fast-paced. So it's if you want something to just goof around with for a few minutes, it's not a bad pickup, and it's $5 normally. So a sale is going to go probably $2.50, and it has Steam trading cards. Yeah,
a couple of bucks seems like a perfect buy-in point for this. It's like you play it for an hour, maybe, and you're like, all right, I had my fun with that. Sounds great.
Yeah, and I love more like this, and it has Counter-Strike Global Offensive. So, if you haven't seen enough dicks in Counter-Strike, well, there you go.
There you go. All right. Well, speaking of dicks and first-person shooters, I played Call of Duty Black Ops this week. Yeah, you see what I did there?
Yeah, well, it's kind of mean to Kyle.
Yeah. So, Kyle... Yeah, I've been asked to play several times. It's like, I don't have it. So finally, I went and I picked it up and played Black Ops this week with Kyle. And
wait, it's not pronounced Blops?
I don't say Blops because I'm not a dude bro.
Oh, no, Kyle, send in your dude bro voice now. I promise I'll only pitch shift you a little bit.
I'm going to play with him and Mel and anybody else that comes to play with us at some point. But, yeah, I mean, I'm really confused by a couple of things about this. And really, it's just a shitty PC port. But its maximum frame rate that you can allow the game to run at is 70. And it's got, like, some weird numbers in between, like 52 and 43. And then it's got standard 30 and 60. And I think it's got 64 frames a second and then 70. And I'm like, what? This doesn't make any sense to me at all. And then it's very poorly optimized. It barely holds 60 on my machine with everything turned up to max. So I had to go and turn some stuff down so that it would hold 60. And then...
well, to be fair, this game is from 2010.
Right. And then it's separated into multiplayer and single player, which is fine. If you just want to download the multiplayer portion of the game and go play multiplayer, that's cool. Or the single player. But they don't share any of your settings. So I discovered that I launched the single player first, got everything working properly, went to go over to the multiplayer side, and realized that it had went back to 600 by 800 with the volume maxed out too loud, and the max frame rate set at 30, and the field of view like dialed in all the way to like 60. So I had to go in and fix all of it again. Stupid. Oh, and it doesn't save your control scheme either. So every time you switch back and forth between single player and multiplayer, you have to make sure and set the control scheme for each one separately. It's dumb. But I did have fun with it. I'm worse than I used to be, but not as bad as I thought I would be when I started playing again. And by the end, I was hanging in there with Kyle. In the beginning, I just got trounced. The bots were doing better than I was on our team, or on my team. But by the end, I was up there, like in the 20s in the kills. So, hooray me! Second game I played this week was Space Engineers. I said last week that I think it was last week. It might have been 2 weeks ago. But anyways, I said that I was playing it, and it was really poorly optimized. I was gonna go online and find some mods.
Yeah, it turns out it's just shittily coded.
Yeah. So I went on to the Steam forum and was asking, like, hey, I'm just having a really hard time running this game. I'm looking for mods that can help me improve the performance. Here's the specs of my machine. Here's what's happening. Any help would be greatly appreciated. And so I got several mod suggestions that do different things, like simplify art assets and pull certain features out of the game if you're not using them so that they're not taking up overhead. And then one guy, like, I don't know, 8 or 12 comments down, was like, your machine shouldn't be having any problems. What graphic settings are you using? So I told him the graphic settings that I was using and the struggles that I had been through trying to get it at a playable frame rate. And he was like, yeah, why don't you try turning everything to max and try it again? Because the game has got really poorly coded textures and draw distance. It doesn't draw distances properly once you start turning things down. And if you turn the max object counter allowed in world too low, it starts to like destroy and recreate the world in the background. Ugh. So it's basically just chewing up all of my processing power because I've turned the graphics down. So I went and I flipped everything to max except anti-aliasing, which I still left off, and Flora because I don't like all of the ground cover. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it interacts weirdly with your vehicles. Like sometimes you can drive through it and sometimes you'll crash into it. So it's just easier to turn it off. And I'm getting a nice buttery smooth 60 FPS everywhere and everything that I do, except for the transition between planets to space and then space back to planets.
60? Someone at Activision's like, why do you need all the way to 60? 50's fine.
52. That's as high as I'm going.
52.
So the game now runs perfectly, except for the transition from planets to space. So, yeah, that's a thing. I mean, I'm enjoying it. I just am like baffled by like how they could do such a bad job with that.
Early access. I mean, it's not that great of an excuse, but it is still in essentially alpha.
I'm really confused.
But at the same time, you know. This is where early access kind of breaks down for me, is that alpha is typically a broken state of the game. You know, you're putting in a bunch of features and you're just trying to get everything in there. Then beta is where you're refining things. You're making it work a lot better. But the problem with early access is that a lot of these games are being sold in the alpha state, but they still need to be in a working order. So they have to take the time to debug multiple times the same features over and over again to get them in a playable state. And it just wastes development time.
Yeah. And the problem with Space Engineers is that they don't fix anything. They just put stuff in, and then every patch or every update, it's like, okay, we fixed the thing and also added 3 new features. So they just break stuff as much.
They
stuff
take
as
a bug
fix.
down, patch it around, then have about 30 or 40 more added to the list.
Yeah, but
I'm not dismissing the developers on this. Finding and smashing bugs, and so that you don't have new ones pop up, is exceptionally tough. I understand that, but at the same time, it's a problem with early access that there's really no easy fix for.
Yeah. Because
these games have to be playable. If early access had almost a Kickstarter-like function to it, where you bought into the game to fund its development before there's a playable version of it. Well, first of all, it'd get a hell of a lot more abused. I mean, just look how Kickstarter's turned out lately. Just abuse all over the place.
Yep.
Or, projects not living up to what they should be. Granted, that actually happens all the time in gaming anyway. I mean, let's make on No Man's Sky. Just look at No Man's Sky.
The one thing that I don't understand about Space Engineers that always confuses me is it's listed as early access, but it's in version 1.152.
Version numbers are so weird, and just in general.
Yeah.
Well, just look how Kerbal Space Program, they jumped how many version points when they went to beta, and they stayed in beta for one patch. As in, they released beta, then immediately launched.
Yeah. So,
which I still think beta for KSP should have lasted 2 or 3 patches at least, because the launch version had some interesting things going on with it.
Yeah. So, yep, that's Space Engineers. Then the only other game I played this week was a little mobile game made by Devolver Digital, which is called Reigns. And it's a choose-your-own-adventure game where that you are the ruler of a kingdom. And you get given scenarios at random, and they're presented to you kind of like cards. And it'll have a little thing, like a little scenario on the card, and you get to choose from a binary response, yes or no. Some of them are a little more complicated than that, but and you have to manage basically four bars. It's your kingdom's, the power of the church within your kingdom, the happiness of your people, the strength of your military, and your treasury.
Yeah, I saw Total Biscuit playing the Steam version on a WTF is, and it looks interesting, but I think it would just piss me off because if you max out any of the bars as well, you lose.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of different endings, and if you max out or bottom out any of the bars, you lose. And it's like, if you max one of them out, you get like a happy losing condition. Like, the one that I seem to max out all the time is my treasury. Or not my treasury, the power of my church, which I think is weird. But it's like, your church has become so powerful. They have taken over the state and made you a figurehead position. You live out the rest of your days as a powerless monarch.
And that's a happy ending?
Yeah, that's a happy ending. The one that I bottom out all the time is my treasury. I had that backwards. In the treasury, it's like whenever you lose all your money, it pops up and it's like, the kingdom is so indebted to whatever, depending on the scenario. But most often it's like the kingdom is so indebted to local industry that they've taken over the rule and have exiled you to another land. That's the one I use the most.
Exiled you like Napoleon.
But it's a really, really fun game. And there's some really deep storytelling in it. And some really interesting narrative concepts that I don't want to spoil. And a couple of them pop up really early in the game. Because like you get objectives. It's like, during this rule, try and do this thing, or meet this person, or accomplish this goal. And whenever you do those things, you get new cards added to your deck. Like, one of the characters that you meet is an alchemist, or he's a magician. Not an alchemist, he's a magician. And whenever you add him, you get a whole new set of scenario cards that pop up that revolve around him. And there's several people that get added. And there's like a storyline that connects each of the different playthroughs that you have. It's really in-depth. It's a lot of fun. I've played it for, I don't know, a couple of 3 hours. And it manages to be pretty deep while still being able to complete one playthrough, or one rule, I guess, in 5 to 10 minutes. So it's still quick enough that you could beat it, on a bus ride or during a long poo, but deep enough that you can sit and play it for an hour or so at a time. And it's really cheap on mobile. I'm pulling up the page here now. I don't see the price for it. It's because I have it installed on my phone. Duh. Can you go to the app page and see how much it costs?
Yeah, hang on. Well, since I knew this game, I didn't go to the page beforehand. It is... trying to find the price on here. Oh, $3.
Yeah, $3. So, I mean, I've already played it for like 3 or 4 hours. It's definitely worth $3. It's a good game. I was really surprised.
I'm seeing what it is on Steam. I know that there's a PC tax on it. Actually, no, there isn't. It's $3 on Steam as well.
Well, if you don't have a smartphone, or if you don't want to buy it on your smartphone, you'd rather play it on your PC, there you go, $3. Definitely worth it.
With a few DLCs as well.
Oh. Let's see, soundtrack, companion book, Songs of Reigns, interactive, OST. I don't find the soundtrack particularly great. It's not bad, but I don't find it particularly good either. I wonder what the companion book is.
It looks like it's just a little, not quite cheat sheet, but it helps out.
Right. So, Yep, those are the games that I played this week.
Yeah, it's kind of weird to see it be the same price.
Yeah.
Because usually there's a tax on PC where, it's a couple bucks more.
Good on them for
a
not...
99-cent game will be $5 on Steam.
Good on them for not going with the PC tax.
Yeah, unless you live in Australia.
Yeah. Well, that's more the Australian tax. So let's move on then and talk about Sony. First up on the docket are the new versions of the PS4, the Slim and the Pro. I can cover the PS4 Slim in like a sentence or two. Your standard PlayStation 4? Cut it in half. That's the PS4
and remove
Slim.
a few features from it.
Yeah, they took out the the optical port.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they took out the optical port, but the PS4 Slim has HDR support, which some versions of the PS4, the standard PS4, are going to get that through a firmware update. I don't know if all versions of the PS4 will get it. But so the Slim's got HDR support, and they removed the optical port.
Okay, so now on to the PlayStation Pro, and I really have to applaud Sony on this.
We briefly talked about this. That is not how I expected you to lead this off. I'm assuming you're going to mock them in some way.
I have to applaud Sony because they looked at Microsoft and saw that they were struggling and decided, we need to even the playing field. We need to fuck up royally. And here we are.
Yeah. Now, you might be saying to yourself, listener, but the new PS4 Pro is supposed to be more powerful and be cooler and like have 4K support and stuff. How is that fucking up? Here's why. They do not do anything to upgrade or improve the existing PlayStation 4 games, and anything that is not specifically built for the PS4 Pro will not see an improvement because it doesn't do anything. It doesn't boost your frame rate. It doesn't make the games look better. All it will do is upscale them to 4K, technically. It's not even true 4K.
Yeah, and it also does not do this unless you hook it up to a 4K television.
Correct. So you get zero benefit unless you've got a 4K TV. Because then you don't even get the 4K.
Yeah, and the adoption rate on 4K is still pretty low.
Current estimates are at around 10%, at least based on a report I read on the Washington Post.
And here's something else for you. Okay, let's assume that you do have a 4K television. The Blu-ray player on it isn't 4K.
Right. It's not a 4K Blu-ray player. What do they call that? Ultra HD?
Yeah, or something. I'm not 100% certain, but
I think 4K Blu-ray is called Ultra HD Blu-rays. I think.
Yeah, and they force it boggles my mind. They force you to have a 4K television to be able to use the fucking thing, or the extra power, in sarcasm quotes there, for gaming. But then the movie section of it is at 4K.
Yeah, I mean, it'll do 4K streaming and stuff, which is great if you happen to live in a place that has, one, fast enough internet to support 4K streaming, and two, no data caps so that you won't have to pay an arm and a leg to actually watch.
Good luck with that, with how things are going. Granted, Netflix is becoming my spirit animal because they're actually fighting data caps now.
Yeah, I saw that. They were, I don't remember exactly what the article said, but the gist of it was they were saying that data caps are not consumer friendly.
Which they aren't.
Yeah, they aren't, but I mean, they're a company that's saying that, which is nice. Obviously, Netflix is going to benefit from not having data caps because people are going to be more likely to purchase Netflix and use it if they're not worried about going over their data cap. But still, my personal goals align with their personal goals, so that's okay. Anyways.
I'm trying to find it on here, but they something a lot of people are pointing out was that the PlayStation Pro also games can sell DLC to support the Pro. They opened up the door where the Pro version of games can have the DLC to support them instead of being, just a standard edition and you are able to put it in either version. And it feels dangerous to me.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that you look at and think, really? You're selling essentially a texture pack or high-res textures and probably some God rays or something. It's just... what the fuck, Sony?
I don't understand also, and this is kind of a more general, not just Sony, but I don't understand why 4K gets pushed so heavily now. I mean, 4K resolutions are nice. They're a nice, the next step up, obviously, in technology, but 4K resolution is only really useful if you sit very close to your viewing device, TV, monitor, whatever, or if that thing is huge. And like your standard, like my TV, my 42-inch LCD TV wouldn't benefit from 4K. It's too small and we sit too close to it.
Here's confirmation on the Blu-ray. I just wanted to make sure. And this is on their official FAQ for this thing, by the way. This is not conjecture. I'm going to read this for fucking Baden.
Okay.
Does a PS Pro support Ultra 4K Blu-ray discs? No, PS4 Pro's internal Blu-ray drive does not support the new Ultra 4K Blu-ray disc format. It supports the same Blu-ray disc specs as the standard PlayStation 4. What the fuck, Sony?
The Scorpio and the Xbox One S the Xbox One S does have an Ultra. What do they call? What do they say it was?
But this thing does support a high quality upscaling of DVDs and Blu-rays because that will look wonderful, won't it?
Right. Speaking of 4K upscaling, what Sony is doing to get, because it's not true 4K, they're using a type of interlacing that does diagonal frames. So
they're really pushing HDR with this as well. Yeah.
But so their interlacing is doing diagonal frames. And then they've got some fancy code that stitches them together really nicely to try and smooth the transition as much as possible. But it's not true 4K. Which interlacing is something that's been used for a long time to help cut down on bandwidth usage for televisions and stuff. And in case you don't know, interlacing, basically your rendering device, whatever it is, will only render every other scan line. And then it uses... it stitches them together, kind of in post-processing. That's the way to think of it. But Sony's, instead of doing every other scan line, which normally it's done horizontally, they're doing it diagonally, which I don't understand, but that's what they're doing. So I guess more power to them on that front.
Yeah, this is just one of those things that, wow. That's the main question I have for this is, why have it where, okay, you need 4K TV, but it's not going to support 4K movies. They're not doing true 4K. They're not trying to smooth out the frame rate issues that they've had because they're jumping all the way to 4K. Otherwise, this thing does jack shit.
Yep. The only other benefit it has...
I will say that I like the light bar on the controller being visible to the actual player without having to tilt up the design on the controller. But then again, I use the light bar on my computer for a couple of things, to see my battery level on my controller, to let me know if my controller's having connection issues. And also it tells me what profile my controller's on. So, that is useful to me, but not really a selling point.
Yeah. There's one other very slightly confirmed benefit for the PS4 Pro, and this one goes with the Slim too. And then there's one that I only have seen as conjecture. I don't know if it's true or not. The confirmed one is that both the PS4 Slim and the PS4 Pro now have 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi support, which for online gaming will be a little bit nicer, but when it comes to actually downloading anything from Sony's online store, you're still going to be limited by how quickly they can send it to you, which is usually much slower than your maximum internet speed. So that's not really much of a help. And then the conjecture thing, which, like I said, I haven't seen if this is true or not, but supposedly the PS4 Pro will improve the frame rate for PlayStation VR.
Yeah, so much for setting up two PS4s in SLI.
Yeah. I mean, I made a joke to someone at the clinic today because they were asking me about it because they know that, I do this and I'm on the up and up. And I was like, well, basically they took the standard PlayStation 4, cut it in half, called one half the PS4 Slim, and then duct taped the other half to a second PS4 and called that the PS4 Pro. Yeah, I mean, that's what it looks like. It looks like you just took a part of another PS4 and stacked it on top.
Will I need to pay to update my existing PS4 games with the new PS4 Pro features? While nothing specifically prevents publishers and developers from doing this, we don't anticipate it at this time.
Which is
Sony, have you paid the fucking attention to how the games industry is going these days? I mean, I realize that you do have your head firmly buried in your own ass here, but some sound from the game industry must be coming through, even if it is muffled.
Yeah. That's marketing speak for we don't intend to do this right now, but we're definitely going to later. Like, that's how I read that.
They do say that software updates enabling PS4 features for any existing first-party titles, such as Infamous and Uncharted 4, will be free. But the thing is that they're not blocking it for third parties, and that's where third parties are going to be making a bunch of money.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I wanted to just find it on here, and I kept skipping it over because it's literally next to a picture of the PS4 Pro, which looks utterly ridiculous.
I'm really curious as to how many of these they actually sell. Particularly for existing PlayStation users. Like, I'm sure that there will be a certain portion of the user base that are diehard PlayStation fans, and or they have a 4K TV that are going to buy it. But I can't imagine that being very many. Almost all of the
here's the thing is, they're talking about they do offer super scaling for the PS4 Pro, so you don't technically need the 4K television to be able to use it. But the thing is that you're not going to see that huge a difference. Console games don't really have the jaggies where the super scaling, that's where it matters.
Right.
Because that's what you usually use super scaling for, is a form of anti-aliasing, right?
Yeah.
So, to clarify this, will the PS4 require a 4K TV? No, the PS4 Pro does not require... the PS4 Pro can display much higher resolutions than the standard PS4 when using a 4K TV. But if you own a HD TV, 720p, 1080 or 1080p, the PS4 Pro can still improve your gaming experience. And they don't really go into what it does. Oh, sorry, they do, actually, on the next thing. The PS4 Pro offers a bunch of benefits, even if you play on an HD TV that isn't 4K. Depending on how the developer chooses to use the increased processing power, games with the PS4 Pro support are able to render much higher or more consistent frame rates. Oh, good luck there. I mean, let's be honest. Most game developers are going to make the game shinier. Increased environmental and character model detail. There you go. Improved overall visual quality or other related visual enhancements. For a look at how games are using the power of the PS4 Pro, watch some of our stuff on YouTube. Because, if you want to show off the graphical power of your games console, you're going to put it on YouTube and have it fucking compress like crazy.
Watch it at 420p at 30 FPS. Check out our awesome Ultra HD stuff. So that's interesting that they said that depending on how developers use it, they might increase frame rates. Because at the conference and also...
Well, the thing is that, from everything I understand, is that this is a graphical, basically bumping the graphics power up. This isn't changing how well the processor is running.
Right.
So, Yeah, depending on where the bottleneck is for the game, it technically could improve frame rates, but at the same time, I don't think it's going to. I think developers are going to make games shinier.
I mean, console game development here for over the last decade has always gone shiny.
Yeah.
And instead of improving playability, we're going to improve graphics. Anyways, though, back to the point that I was starting to make like 5 minutes ago.
Sorry.
I don't really see who's going to buy one of these. Like I said, there's a small portion that probably will because they either have a 4K TV or they're just such diehard Sony fans they're going to anyways. And I do realize that online discussion typically represents a minority, but it's almost all negative. Most of the games press is reporting either negatively or neutrally on this, as opposed to saying it's like hyping it up as a good thing. And like the subreddit is awash with mostly negative people, and in comments on articles, people are like, "Why? Like, what's the point? There's no point in me purchasing this. I can't get 4K Blu-ray support, or I don't have a 4K TV, so I can't utilize these features. There's no point in me purchasing this." So,
and this doesn't have exclusive games either.
Yeah, no, at least for the time being, it doesn't.
Yeah.
We'll see if they don't go that route or not. But
yeah, if they change their mind on that.
So, I mean, unless you have a 4K TV, there's literally no reason to purchase a PlayStation Pro. Also, the Neo was a better name, Sony. What the hell were you guys thinking? Why do companies always screw up names?
Sort of like how the Wii was originally the Revolution.
Yeah, that's a way better name than the Wii.
Or, the code name for the GameCube was Dolphin.
Dolphin, yeah.
And that's why a lot of GameCube games, early ones, had Dolphin references.
Yeah.
Which, still, that the GameCube, it's one of those things that you look at it now and it's iconic because, it was really one of the last times that Nintendo was really the leader. That's around the era that they started falling off. The N64 is really the tipping point, but the GameCube was like the twilight era of it.
Right.
But, can you imagine the Nintendo Dolphin?
That would be awesome. I'd love to have a Nintendo Dolphin.
Of course, they would have to spell it weird and, like add an I or something in it.
Yeah. Or like DOLPHYNE, the Nintendo Dolphin.
And then the second version of it can have a 2 in it somewhere. Or just replace a letter with a number.
Yeah. So, I don't really have much else to say about the Slim or the Pro. I just don't understand.
Well, I don't think a lot of people have a lot to say about the Slim.
Yeah.
I found the actual resolution. Never mind. That's the screenshot. It can take screenshots up to 3840 by 1061.
Wow. Color me not impressed.
Yeah, I saw the resolution on here earlier because it wasn't a true 4K, but I hate it whenever I lose my place on these.
Yep, shows just how old you are. Tee-hee. Okay, well, let's go back on Sony some more because
that's not the only thing they fucked up.
There's no mod support for Fallout 4 or Skyrim Special Edition on PS4.
It is a very rare thing to see a game developer throw the console developers under a bus like this. But Bethesda, in a very, very short blog post, said basically why they aren't doing it, and Sony's blocking them.
Yeah.
And this is why you don't buy games for what they can be. You buy them for what they are. And I'm tempted to make that a rule for VGL.
I'll allow it.
Buy a game for what it is, not what it can be.
Thou shalt not buy games based on promises.
Or we could always just shorten it to, don't buy into the hype.
Thou shalt not... We'll have to work on that.
We'll figure it out. That's going to be our project for the week. But yeah, people that bought the PS4 version of Skyrim Fallout 4. Skyrim's the one that's coming out there because they're doing the enhanced edition of it, or the upgraded edition, or the Game of the Year edition, or
they're bringing the PC
bullshit
version to consoles.
Yeah, essentially. Well, except for the PlayStation 4 version, because they don't get mods now.
Fair play.
And also, even the Xbox version of Fallout 4, it doesn't have full mod support, because on PC, you're able to bring in other models. You're able to import content into the game.
Yeah.
So any Xbox mods, it has to use what's already there. So
yeah, there's kind of a list of approved mods. Also on Xbox, you can only use 2 gigabytes worth of mods, just due to system limitations. But still, compared to anything,
it's still 2 gigs more than what Sony can.
Yeah, and I mean it's 2 gigs more than has ever existed before on any console platform, to my knowledge. So, good for them.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question, because I heard an interesting theory about this, but I want to ask you first to see what you think. Why do you think Sony is not allowing mod support?
Well, I probably heard the same theory that you did. They want to have their console as locked down as possible.
Yeah,
that they don't want to have essentially rogue code running on their platform, because they see it as a way to break into the system's OS.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. That was exactly where I was going.
Granted, I have no idea if it's possible or not.
Yeah.
Or really, any knowledge of that, to be perfectly honest. But it still seems foolish, because you're throwing the baby out with the bathwater here. You are losing a ton of sales.
Yeah, there are very few people who would even attempt to do that. I mean, yes, there are people out there that would do that, but most people would just go, "Oh, a big boobs mod. I want that." Or whatever.
Well, to be fair, I don't think that would happen on the consoles, just because that would have to change the models.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it would be using existing models already, though.
Well, I'm not sure if it's possible to change the meshes like that.
I don't know. Regardless,
I have no idea what the limitations are on the console's mods.
Yeah.
I just know that they can't bring in other content. They can't bring in other media. So I'm assuming that, a big boob mod would require that.
Yeah. Also, I think another popular theory that might be more true is that they don't want to give any content away for free. They want to...
So this comes all the way back around to Bethesda trying to sell mods on PC, doesn't it?
Yeah. Supposedly, again, this is another conjecture thing that I heard someone talking about. It was actually on the Rooster Teeth podcast, or not the Rooster Teeth podcast, the
It is kind of funny that mod support for Skyrim has had 2 controversies in, 2 years?
Yeah, something like that.
Well, a year and a half, something like that.
Yeah. Anyways, though, they were talking about this on the most recent episode of The Patch, which is the Rooster Teeth Gaming specific podcast. They were saying that they believed that Sony's the procedures that they go through to approve content to be sold on their console, like mods, would have to be approved and QA tested by Sony and then sold. Like the model that they use for it doesn't allow for free content. They would have to sell them. So basically, Sony would create curated mod packs and sell them, and that's not part of the agreement that Bethesda wants. And so that's where this is coming from.
Yeah, well, Bethesda's already realized selling mods, bad idea.
Yeah, they tried to do that once. It didn't work out so well for them.
Which, selling mods, or a modded game in general, because I have bought essentially what is a paid mod, but it is a total conversion of a game. After Tag, for example, is essentially a paid mod for Portal 2. But it's also not just, changing the colors of the paints in the game. It is a completely new game.
Right.
So, and that's where the distinction really lies. And Bethesda is gun-shy about selling, a mod that, adds a new sword. Because they got raked over the coals then had the coals shoved up their ass.
Yeah. So, yeah, we think Sony are stupid, basically, this week.
Yeah, really.
They're stupid poopy heads that make poor business decisions.
You done fucked up.
Although, the thing is that they're leading the quote-unquote console race right now, so...
Well, not for long with this rate.
I mean, Microsoft made some pretty stupid decisions when they were in the lead, too. And now that they're in second place, they're, doing all they can to get their consumer base to grow back to what it used to be on the Xbox 360. So, Sony is suffering from the being in the lead, and they can get away with this stuff because they've got the market share. Yeah, the
complainants of being in the lead.
Yeah, they've got the market share to burn, basically. So,
and boy, are they burning it. Whew.
Yep. Okie dokie. Well, let's move on to another company doing something that I don't know if it's good or bad. Steam is making some changes to its review system.
Oh, this is interesting. I think the big part of this, which a lot of people have been highlighting, is they're actually changing how the Steam review, the overall score is calculated.
Right.
It no longer is counting any games that are activated by a key. To have your review count for the total, mostly positive, mostly negative calculation, it has to be a Steam purchase.
Mm-hmm.
And the default settings for their Steam reviews filters out the text reviews for the games. So, if I were to put the reviews that I do, my Sunday sampler for, let's use the latest one, the exposure game, the flashing game.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to write a review and put it on the store page, by the default settings, it doesn't appear. And my review, either positive or negative, doesn't impact the overall reviews because most of my review copies, as a matter of fact, now that I think about it, all my review copies I get via Steam keys. And this also filters out anyone that buys the game through Humble Bundle, through Green Man Gaming, through really any retailer, because you don't get a Steam activation. You get a key.
Right.
And that's going to really impact a lot of games' total review. And the reason why they're doing this isn't, Steam being stupid poopy heads, as you would put it.
Not like Sony.
They're doing this for one reason. Some game developers have been giving away massive amounts of keys and promoting the idea of saying, this game is good no matter what. Leave a positive review for our game. And it skewed their score. That's why they're filtering it out.
Right.
But at the same time, doing a blanket change like this has far-reaching impacts, far beyond what you're trying to fix. So I'm not really convinced on this change.
Yeah. I mean, I think I don't fully support, I'm not 100% yes, this is a good change. But I think that it is a more positive step than doing nothing. Because it does help to eliminate some of the, the mass pile-on that you get of, both positive and negative for games. Making a review either inflate or deflate artificially.
Yeah, I'm looking around. I'm trying to find a game that has a good chunk of just key activations, and I'm actually not finding it. So maybe my point is kind of a moot point.
But
well, let's see. Full Mojo Rampage, for example. I'm just going around randomly. Total reviews 972. Steam activations or Steam purchases 918. Key activations 54 on the reviews.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's pick something else at random. City Skylines. That's been on sale on Humble Bundle a couple times through their store. Let's see. There's 2,000 reviews that get thrown out of 26,000. So that's a decent chunk.
Yeah. I still think that ultimately Steam needs an official curation system.
Yeah, they don't need to run it themselves, and the developers don't need the power. They need a third party to do this.
Yeah,
and they did highlight that that is on the horizon, that they're looking at trying to curate the reviews more. Because one of the major problems with Steam reviews is just the fact that you will get just people that will one of the memes is to either put like something out of 10 or do a copy and paste of something, and it just gets ridiculous.
Yeah.
Or another thing is completely unrelated. One of the big things I've seen, one of the more humorous ones I might add, even though I don't really support it, is just do a... there's been people that posted in recipes.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of those now that you mention that.
Let's see.
Which I think those are funny, but yeah, those should just get thrown out.
Yeah, well, people mark them as useful, and then it just gets pushed further and further up the chain.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, here's a good example. RimWorld.
Okay.
RimWorld has 3,149 Steam purchases that's reviewed. Key activations, 1,673.
So about half.
Well, I would say closer to a third. 4,800 and with 1,600 being thrown out because of key activation.
Oh, okay. I must have heard... I guess I heard you wrong.
Well, I said I didn't say the total. I said the Steam purchases. Because that's the default thing, is that you don't have a way to set this up to say, okay, I want to always see all purchase types, because that is a reload of the page, or a reload of the review section, I should say. So it's one of those things that the default settings, I think, should be changed, and because of how they're calculating the review score, I understand why it's, the Steam purchases only, because that is all that's being calculated, and it's, well, for RimWorld, mostly positive review score. It is just those Steam purchases. It feels like if you don't buy it on Steam, you don't matter. And to be perfectly honest, for the review, you don't.
Yeah.
Because you're hidden now.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely is doing some harm, but I think that overall it's doing a bit more good than it is harm in most cases.
I think it really depends on, does the game get a sale on Steam that gets it a lot of sales, or do they sell it via third parties more often? Because, okay, let's put it this way. A game that hasn't gone on sale on Steam goes into Humble Bundle and gets a bunch of sales there. All those sales in Humble Bundle do not count to the Steam review score. And if there hasn't been, a lot of sales in Steam, its review score can be greatly skewed because of it.
Yeah. I think, though, that would happen
I know.
less.
I'm probably overstating this problem.
I think that would happen a lot less than the other problem, which has been proven to happen plenty of times at this point, of developers encouraging...
especially, the thing is that it's very small developers that tend to do this.
Yeah. So, I think that overall it does more good than harm.
I just wish it wasn't a blanket thing, and they took a look at the developers that are suspected of doing this and apply it to them. Because I think that, once again, this comes back to curation of the system in general.
Yeah, I was going to say, that implies some level of curation, which Steam so far does not do.
Yeah, Steam is very, very hands-off. I mean, just the tag system alone is a complete mess. You'll get games made for little kids that get the psychological horror tag quite often. It's just one of those things that Steam needs to fix their tag system as well. And they've also gone as far as blocking some tags. When it first came out, there was actually a 30 FPS tag to warn people of FPS locks, and they actually removed that and made it so that a game cannot be tagged with that, which is why the frame rate police was created by Total Biscuit, actually.
Yeah.
So it's just... I do think that, them looking at the reviews system is a good idea. They definitely needed to fix some things, because we've talked about how the Steam reviews has a bell curve of usefulness. At the low end, too few reviews to really be able to tell if a game is worthwhile or not. And too many, you start getting too many memes to try to filter out the noise.
Yeah.
So this is a step in the right direction. It's just having the review scores change like this. Granted, you really shouldn't be focused on just the review score if you're buying a game or not. You should look at the individual reviews and find what you like and what you dislike of the game based on that. So it's one of those things that maybe I'm just picking this out because it can impact me directly, because I get a lot of games via Steam Key. And I'm just seeing this as, okay, so don't matter now.
Yeah. I mean, I can see your point of view from that. I almost never leave Steam reviews in general. And I think that the benefits...
the thing is, I don't leave Steam reviews, but there's people that get the review copies that will leave reviews. And on a few of the games that I've looked at recently, you go to the review section and go to the Steam Key only, or the Steam activation, or the Steam Key activation. And you'll see this was a review copy. 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 Mm-hmm. And that's what's kind of put me off of this. Because honestly, I'd much rather see people that got review copies see some of their reviews, because typically, they're the ones that know what they're talking about, rather than, the 10-year-old kid that just copy and pasted his mom's recipe for lemon meringue pie. But they do highlight the next steps for this, so we'll go into this. There are some titles where the most helpful reviews don't seem to accurately match the general customer sentiment. For example, there are a couple prominent titles that have positive review scores where all the reviews are marked as helpful or negative. We want to look at this and figure out ways to combat this problem, which is a great example of just memes and bullshit.
Yeah. All the positive reviews have memes and bullshit in them, and the negative ones, the ones that are actually honest about the game. Mm-hmm. I mean, if they take the time to actually go look at those, then they'll obviously see that. But, I mean, I wish that they would just do away with joke reviews. Just remove all of that.
The helpful tag on reviews should not exist. Period.
Colon. Exclamation point. Nice.
And Terra Bang. Let's see. The second point they made, there are some titles where a small group of users are able to consistently mark specific reviews as helpful, and as such present skewed perceptions of the games, of what customers are saying about it. So once again, that's the small review copy, or the small review numbers, where the low end of the bell curve. And on some off-topic reviews that get marked as helpful because they are funny, and I'm putting funny and sarcasm quotes there.
Yeah.
Because I'll be perfectly honest, a lot of the funny reviews aren't funny. These don't appear to actually be helpful in determining whether or not you should buy the game. So we're working on some ways to better detect and filter these out. Well, to be fair, just a simple word filter will catch most of those.
Yeah.
Because they're all copy and paste. So it's just, maybe I'm making a bigger deal out of this than what it really is. It just, I'm leery when Steam is doing a sweeping change like this, because typically they need a few iterations before they get something right. And this is one of the first times that they've really touched reviews since they've added reviews.
Yeah. I still think that this is a better thing than a worse thing.
Yeah, it is a step. I think it's a sideways step, to be perfectly honest. Because in order to really see what the game is about, you need to start doing a lot of refreshing on the page and, going through the different reviews. So it requires more digging to get a more general feel for what the game is about. Especially if the game has a lot of key activations. Well, RimWorld is a good example where a good chunk of the reviews is thrown out of the overall score, and the default view doesn't show key activations. Granted, RimWorld is going to be an oddball in this because they actually have to shut down giving out keys. But if it's sold through Humble Bundle, for example, that's the most obvious place that you'll get a key for a game like that.
Yeah.
Then, those reviews are filtered out as well. Let's see. Actually, I just thought of one. Divinity Original Sin. How many reviews are thrown out there? Because that would be all the Kickstarter reviews. Not many, actually. 51 out of 11,000. So I guess not many people that Kickstarted reviewed it. Or it may be skewed some way. Then again, I don't know what they're actually counting as a key activation. Could it be any reviews before the system went out? That's going to be an interesting thing. Maybe I should test that.
Maybe you could do that. You could do a bit of journalism. You could test it and then report back to us.
I could actually do some work.
Yeah, there you go. Do some journalism.
Because it's not like I have a limited selection of games that I have key activations for.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry.
Coughing up a hairball?
I took a sip of my margarita and it kind of stung on the way down for some reason. I might have breathed a little in by accident.
You're not supposed to inhale it.
No. Okay, well, let's go.
Yeah, I think we beat that one to death.
Yeah. Let's go talk about... I messed that segue up. Let's talk about GOG.
We actually have segues?
Yeah. Let's talk about GOG, who is better than Steam at customer service.
Yeah. GOG has really surprised me here. Typically, you don't see this level of generosity. Essentially, a game developer saying, fuck you if you own the GOG copy of their game.
Yeah.
And, what was it, Armello?
Armello?
Armello. Sorry, the font on this was a little small. Armello is saying, fuck you if you own the GOG copy of it, because they're not putting out the paid DLC for it in GOG.
Yeah.
And GOG is offering a blanket refund policy.
Yep. In case you don't know, Armello is a board game. It doesn't have a physical version. It's a 100% digital board game, but it is a board game that came out, I want to say last year. It might have been 2 years ago.
It came out 2015, September 1st.
So
right at a year now.
Yeah. And the DLC for it is not coming to GOG, only to Steam.
Yeah, and they're saying that it's not about piracy.
Yeah. Their reasoning for it to not go to GOG is because it's DRM free. Yet they're saying it's not about piracy. So what's it about then?
Yeah, just how is their DRM implemented if it's making it so that you have to code for it? It seems weird.
Yeah.
Because typically DRM is an additional layer, isn't it?
Yes. Usually it's an additional, kind of like a shield, basically, that goes around your game. It's like, oh, do you have the right credentials to go through and play the game? Okay, you do. Good. You may pass.
Oh, you're trying to play with Xbox players. Sorry, we don't allow that, says the Sony exec.
But so yeah, so no no DLC on GOG. That for some reason stumped my brain trying to say that.
No DLC on GOG. You're a foobar if you're buying DLC on GOG.
But I mean, GOG, yeah, they went above and beyond on that because you could have bought that game a year ago and still got a refund for it because the DLC's not coming.
Yeah, they said all previous owners of it when that policy went out, which we're going to be kicking No Man's Sky once again. Steam has locked down the refunds on that.
Yep. Steam is still very hush-hush, closed-mouth on that situation. There have been no new updates.
Well, to be fair, the original support tickets are just now clearing.
True. My original ticket hasn't been answered in 9 days now. I just left it open for shits and giggles. But yeah, it hasn't been responded to in 9 days.
Well, don't worry. Eventually, the archaeologist will dig up that computer in the far future and find the support ticket and answer
it. I'll be long gone.
Then they have to go do research on what the hell is No Man's Sky. Oh, that disappointment.
Yeah, they'll recognize it when they see it.
It's like, oh, this poor son of a bitch. You bought that on launch, really? I mean, sure, it was okay once it had about 20 or 30 content updates.
There also still hasn't been any communication from Hello Games. They haven't even released patch notes for the patch that came out last week. So.
Oh, I'm glad I did not buy into the hype of that game. Granted, I'm a bitter old man that rather be surprised than be hopeful for a game. But it's times like this that I look at the game industry and think, I'm right.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of how to segue that into Papers, Please.
We're already leaving this topic?
I mean,
I guess there's not a lot to
There's
really
not
talk
much
about
to say
here.
about it except GOG's being awesome. They don't have to do this, yet they are.
Yeah, I would love to hear exactly why, because they had a lot of marketing speak essentially saying, oh, no, it's just the DRM, but it's not about piracy. So how is the DRM implemented into this game that it's actually interfering with the game systems?
I don't know. I'm sure going forward we'll hear more about it, but at this time I don't think that's known.
Yeah, and they're actually actively removing any mentions of this on their Steam forums. So they've locked them down rather tightly.
Yeah.
Because I was looking on the Steam forums just now and I couldn't find any mention of this. So it's just one of those things. And I will say that I had this game on my wish list. I actually did. And I removed it and I put it on the not interested list.
I've got Armello on my Steam wish list. I've been interested in it for a while. It just hasn't been... I mean, it's gone on sale, but not for a good price.
Yeah, what games do you not have on your wish list?
One or two.
Well, see, here's the thing. I have a huge library, and you have a huge wish list.
That's right.
When you get your info on the latest Steam sale, they just say, okay, here's the games that are not on sale.
Here's the games that are not on sale and that I don't already have on my wish list.
Which the Steam alerts are just absolutely useless. A couple of weeks ago, I got an alert about the weekly sale, the Monday sale, on Thursday.
Nice.
I got the alert for the midweek madness sale before I got the weekly sale alert.
And that alert was just as speedy as communist bureaucracy. Nailed it. All right.
Wow.
Let's go talk about Papers, Please. So, Papers, Please is... obviously, spoiler alert. Papers, Please is a game where you play a border guard who has to basically memorize the actual handbook for allowing people to immigrate into your country. and you have to check everyone's passport and their ID and their work visa. And
it's
their
essentially
papers.
a paperwork simulator.
Yeah, basically it's yeah. I suddenly forgot the TSA. There we go, TSA. It's basically TSA simulator, only worse because it's communists.
Barely.
There is a story to this game.
Well, there's actually a few stories to it, and the thing is that it's not very clear on the branching points, so you have to know what the story is to experience the story, because you have to do certain actions, you have to allow certain people, you have to detain certain people, and I'm going to say this: I like a lot of aspects about the game. I like.
Nope. We've got the questions. We've got the questions. We have to stick to the questions.
All right.
I'll just go. I'll give you an in though. I'll give you an in. Rage, did you like the game?
Not really.
I sort of liked it.
I tried several times over the last couple of weeks, and I've actually tried several times since I've originally gotten the games, because I didn't get it for the Game Club. I actually had this game in my library for quite a while.
Yeah.
And I've tried getting into it, and it wasn't until this set of attempts for it that I really figured out why I didn't like it. And actually ties into something we talked about a few months ago with Titanfall.
Uh-huh.
Where we were talking about the highs and lows of gameplay, and if the game always has action, that it it feels like it's too tense, that there's not a breaking point that you could just relax in.
Right.
And that was the problem with Titanfall's gameplay, that there's too much going on, that it gets muddled.
Yeah.
Well, for me, Papers, Please, I was always kind of frustrated, and there was always that tension of, okay, what did I just fuck up?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there was never a downtime, because the downtime was the time that you saw, okay, well, your son just died because you weren't able to pay the heater because you're too tense during the border phase. And you didn't remember that this particular city wasn't in this country, it's in this other country. So we got you a citation there.
Yeah. After like the third day, because, if you've never played it, every day that passes, it adds a new mechanic of paperwork bullshit that you have to keep up with. So, it starts out really simple, like, is this person, like, does their ID match up with their passport from which country they're coming from, or what city they're coming from, or,
Yeah, which they got me a couple times there just on the issuing city. They always got me on the fucking issuing city.
Yeah, same for me. And then it gets more and more complicated. It's like, okay, this person is coming to work. Now they also have to have the work papers. They have to have their work visa. And their work visa has to have the proper thing listed. So even if they have a work visa, but if it's got the wrong code on it, well, you've got to catch that. Otherwise, you get in trouble. And just
and it does have a 3-strike system where you're able to miss 2, but the third one you start losing money.
Yeah.
But the thing is also that you have a limited time during the day, naturally. So even those 2 misses could greatly impact just how much money you make.
Yeah. Which means that your family could starve, or not freeze to death, or get sick and you not be able to purchase medicine for them. It's so interesting the way that they drive gameplay, because essentially the game also, it's paperwork simulator, but also it's like, real life choices simulator. You never see your family. You never interact with them in any meaningful way outside of the screen that just says, okay, what do you pay for today? Food, medicine, heat. But you like, all of your decisions are driven by, like, okay, I have to make sure that I'm able to feed my family. Like, they went last week without food. If they go without food again, they're going to starve. But they also have to have the heater so they don't freeze to death. And I think that little Jimmy can make it one more week without medicine. Like, everything you do is driven by that, because there is this separatist rebel group that comes and wants to basically liberate the country. At least that's what they tell you. I don't know if that's the case or not, because I can't beat it. Every time I lose, either my family dies, so I lose, or the one time I actually tried, like, I accepted the bribes and tried to help the separatists, I got caught. So I was executed.
Yeah, it's helping the faction is actually detrimental to your own and your family's well-being, which is an interesting idea. Doing the right thing is rarely easy as well.
Yeah, it was my fault that I got caught too, because I accepted the bribe. So I can't remember what day it is, but one of the days the guy comes by and he's like, "Hey, here's some money.
Here's a huge chunk of change.
Yeah, here's it's 1,000 Arstotzka dollars. It's like, here's $1,000. This guy's gonna come by tomorrow. Let him pass, and you get the money regardless of what you do. But I took the money, so I felt obligated to help the guy. And it was like, you have enough money to afford a new apartment. Do you move to your new apartment? And I was like, yeah, I'll move to my new apartment. And then I got reported by my neighbors. It's like, oh, they moved to a new apartment. Where'd they get this money? So the government came and investigated me and discovered I had all this money. So then they caught me accepting they had caught me accepting the bribe, and I was executed or sent to the gulag or whatever it is that they do to you.
Yeah, which the corruption in this game, Georgie is a good example of this. You remember Georgie, right?
Which one is Georgie? Is he the guy that brings you
Georgie is the one that has, you first meet him when he has the crayon drawing.
Yeah, he's got
for
the crayon passport. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, that's who I thought
Georgie basically says that he was able to get through just time and time again with, literally joke papers, just having, what appears to be at a glance, at a very short glance, actual paperwork, because, it's crayon.
Yeah.
Just by bribery. So, corruption is rampant in the state.
Did you let Georgie through?
No.
Eventually, I let him through. Like, I stopped him the first few times, but, he keeps coming and keeps coming. Yeah. And eventually, I just was like,
he's the one lighthearted moment.
Yeah.
Oh, he keeps showing up even if you let him through. Yeah. The thing is that he's a drug runner.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Eventually, when you get the scanner, you're able to scan Georgie and you find a bunch of drugs on his back.
Didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't see him again after I let him through. And then I got
later in the game. He shows up less and less, but he shows up the last few days. Granted, I did not beat the game. I actually had to read on the endings because I just started getting frustrated with the game, and the tension was just made it so I wasn't enjoying myself. Yes, I realized that this game isn't meant to be enjoyed. Which it's a weird thing, huh?
I enjoyed it for a little while. It's until it just gets overwhelming. It's kind of like this weird Zen thing. It's like, okay, I'm checking the paperwork.
I wish that instead
got
of
my workstation flow down.
Instead of having a month, I wish the story was spread out over 2 months so that the curve was a little bit less steep.
Yeah. Because you don't, literally, it's every day. Maybe it stops, but...
it does stop, or it doesn't stop, it changes. So eventually it goes from looking at passports to confiscating certain passports, or just different things with those certain papers. But yeah, it does eventually stop. But then you get things like a sniper rifle where you have to shoot people that are trying to run for the wall to destroy it.
I didn't get that far. I got I don't know how.
Well, that one I had to read about. Only got essentially halfway through the game myself.
I got to day 14. Day 14 is the farthest I got.
Yeah, that's about where I got on my furthest, but I eventually just got fed up with it because I kept restarting it.
Yeah.
And the thing is that I think this is another feeling on the game, is that it's so scripted. It is always... Georgie always shows up on this day, to give you an example.
Yeah.
I think if they had a little bit of randomness where, okay, Georgie didn't show up today. He could show up in from days 3 to 6, for example. So it doesn't feel so scripted.
Yeah.
But still have the essential plot points there. Have granted the plot points at the end would have to always be at their precise times, but have what happens before that have a little bit of variance.
Yeah. So you played it on PC. I have previously played it on PC, but this game is available for tablets. I'm not sure if it's on Android tablets or if it's just on devices, iPads. But I bought it for my iPad and played it on there for Game Club. And I have to say, it's not a bad experience on tablet. I mean, all you're doing on PC basically is dragging around paperwork on your screen, on your little workflow area. And that works really well with a finger.
Well, what do you think of them having it where, in order to unlock hotkeys or for the tablet multi-touch, you have to spend in-game money to do that?
I didn't do that. I just had a really good workstation flow set up, so I didn't use the hotkeys.
Yeah, I didn't either, but it's an interesting way to have another thing that, your precious resource, actually the only resource that you have is the money. Something else to burn it on, essentially.
I think it's a nifty idea. It's like, okay, how much do you want to spend on your own comfort? How much do you want? It just goes back to what I was saying before. Like, every decision you make is driven by this family that you literally have no context for other than a little menu. It's like, well, I could spend some money on my workstation upgrade, or I could buy medicine for little Timmy. And, for some people that doesn't matter. But for other people, like myself, like, I have a family, and also I'm a therapist, so I kind of latch onto that stuff a lot.
Yeah, seeing, them go from okay to cold, for example.
Yeah.
That gets to you.
It made me really sad. I was really sad. So.
Well, did you get to the part with the niece?
No.
Okay, well, this is where I started reading up on the game, and eventually your sister gets caught and is sent to the gulag.
Yeah.
For unspecified crimes, if I recall correctly. And you have an option of adopting your niece, which adds to your
daily resource drain. Yeah.
But the thing is that if you don't adopt her, she's gone, and you never hear from her again. So it's one of those things. It's very fitting for the theme of the game. That Cold War Soviet feeling of just trying desperately to survive.
Yeah. Yeah. So, back to before.
And this is something... I love the feeling of the game, the exploration feeling of the game. But when it comes down to the gameplay, where there's really no break of the tension at all, with the exception of Georgie showing up and always being so jovial.
Yeah.
Saying, oh, it's all right. Yeah, I understand. You have a tough job. And for some reason, I always hear him with Cousin Roman's voice from GTA 4.
Yeah. So, you said that you didn't really like it. Do you think it's a good game and it just didn't connect with you?
I think it's a decent game. I think it's a very niche title, and this is a game that if you get it on Steam, immediately play it to get in the review window copy, or sorry, the refund copy area. So if you're unsure about the game, pick it up when it's on sale and try it out. If it doesn't connect with you in the first hour and a half, it's not going to connect with you.
Yeah.
And you could just refund it.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely could figure out really quickly whether or not you're going to like this. Because if you're like, I'm not sure if I like the tedium of this, it only gets worse. That does not get any better at all. But, I mean, if it's something that, like, the themes of the game itself speak to you...
Yeah, I do love the themes of the game. It's just the gameplay itself gets to me.
Yeah, normally, themes and things like that can overcome gameplay. And this isn't bad gameplay. It's just, for me, it's very tedious gameplay. Mm-hmm. And it kind of hits that threshold around, like, day 5 or 6. And it's just like, okay, this is enough mechanics. Like, these are enough things for me to check on.
Nope, you're going to get some more.
Yeah, don't add anything for a while. And then, you get something new on day 7 and day 8 and day 9 and just so on and so on. And even when, they change the way a mechanic works, it's still like something that you have to cope with. So, yeah, it's...
Yeah, this makes me wonder. This was probably going to be going into the list at some point. There's another game that has sort of bland gameplay, but the overarching theme and message of it is what really drives the game home, and that is Spec Ops: The Line.
Ooh, yes. I have always wanted to play Spec Ops: The Line, and I never have. Because
it's been spoiled at this point.
Yeah, it has, but even when you know something is coming, usually experiencing it the first time is still, you can still get something out of it. So
I wonder if it's just the fact that Papers, Please is the tedium of it is that gets to me, or if it's I have to have decent gameplay to go along with the message, and Spec Ops: The Line would be a similar problem for me.
Yeah, because
they purposely made a rather generic shooter with that.
Yeah, I think Spec Ops would be good to go on the list, but
it's just I don't have it yet.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think this is a good game. I can't wholeheartedly recommend it. Like I said before, if you think that the themes really speak to you, or if you find it interesting as a niche title, then go for it. But I can't just recommend this like I would Bastion
I'm
or
going
To
to go
the Moon.
With a maybe.
Yeah.
Yes, I realize that's a terrible recommendation. Or I will go... Yes, I would recommend it with a huge asterisk saying, play it immediately and check it out during the refund window. And we get the train.
Yep.
Fucking train.
Is it passed?
Yeah, I'm just giving it a few extra seconds.
Okay.
I'll just redo that entire segment.
The entire segment?
Yeah, okay, so now onto the Game Club.
Yeah, whatever. All right, so...
for me, I would say maybe yes, with a huge asterisk, just saying that definitely play it during the refund period, so that if it doesn't click with you, then you could just refund the damn game. Because it is a very, very tedious game, and it's one that does build a lot on its theme and its message. But the game itself is not terribly enjoyable, at least for me.
Right. Okay, well...
But I will say that the artwork does really make you feel like it's a very old game.
Yeah.
I do like the artwork in the game, and the that opening theme just drives home the sort of the desperation and, the tenseness of it.
Yeah.
It's just, I wish that there was some sort of break in it, where the all of the tense, desperate, dystopian area was just there was some sort of relief.
Yeah.
Which I realized does not fit with the theme.
They had alcohol.
Oh boy, did they have alcohol.
Okay, well, we've got two audio letters related to Papers, Please. We're going to start with Kyle, because his is directly related to the game. And then Kimmis with an interesting perspective based on his family history for the game. So we're going to hear from them, and then we'll be back to tell you what games are going to be on our next poll for Game Club.
Yep, the voting.
The voting, yes. But here is Kyle and Kimmis.
Greetings, J. Arthur and Caffeine Rage. This is Kyle talking about Papers, Please. Papers, Please has a really interesting spot in my library simply because it's a very engaging game, and yet it really shouldn't be, considering it's just a paperwork simulator. Although, I will admit it is a more engaging game than some, AAA titles I've played, which sets it up a few marks. It's a really interesting branching story, and you don't exactly know where the choices you make will end you up. For example, following all of the rules, well, that's going to ensure that your family has enough heat and food and whatnot to survive. But if you start helping out this mysterious shadow organization, you have a chance at really affecting Arstotzka. It's really interesting how paperwork can become engaging when you have something to actually gain from it outside of just a winner is you. You've done paperwork. I wasn't really, around during the Cold War. Specifically, I wasn't really around during the Cold War in the Eastern Bloc, but on one of my tours, I actually ended up in the Eastern Bloc. Long story, I'll tell it at some other time. But Based on the state of the buildings and the public infrastructure, I think that this game really nailed what it must have been like in the Cold War. The only thing I'll leave on, because I've left a very long audio letter this week, is the psychological effect of this game, which if Jared hasn't already talked about it, alright buddy, here's your jumping off point, where the easy option, just following the rules, isn't necessarily the best option for the group, and it really makes you think, do I want to help liberate Arstotzka, or do I want to make sure that I am taken care of? It's a really interesting idea, and I'm sure there's some psychological experiment that Jared will tell us about that explains this. But anyways, I thought it was a good game, and I really enjoyed my time with it. So if you haven't played Papers, Please yet, what are you doing listening to all these spoilers? But if you haven't played it, go pick it up and play it. It's just a depressing joy.
Greetings everybody, Kmis here again. This is my lack of submission for the Video Game Logic podcast. Stop using the word bi-weekly. I hate it, it's ambiguous, it can mean every other week or twice a week Game Club. This is a bit weird as I haven't actually played the game, but I find the reason behind it curious enough to talk about it for a couple of minutes. When it has finally been decided we're playing Papers, Please this week, I had a brilliant idea. What if I could play a game about a fictional communist bureaucracy with someone who had to deal with actual communist bureaucracy? Well, what would you know, I just happen to currently stay at my parents' place and both of them lived under USSR national friendship for the first 30 years of their lives. It would be an ambitious project mainly because neither of them speak English. Maybe for the better, they'll never listen to the podcast. No worries, I'll just record 1 or 2 hours of gameplay and another hour or so of interview, transcribe and translate everything, edit it into something cohesive, and finally either paraphrase it into third-person narration or coerce my friends to do a little of voice acting for exposure. So I purchased the game, switched language to Polish, by the way, a job well done, all graphics had to be redrawn, turned on easy mode for good measure, and sat down with my parents, showing them the basic premise and what they can expect. I didn't even have time to leave the room before they decided they're bored of it, and if they have to play something about communism, they'd much rather play the Kolejka board game with the vodka expansion instead. Maybe I should have taken into account that my father is a tank truck driver who crosses German borders 6 times a week, so virtual border checks are not something he wants to deal with in his spare time. I then tried to solicit some stories from the 80s, and here's what I gathered. First, I somehow missed the fact that the first time they have ever gone abroad was when we all visited my dad's niece in Berlin. That was the end of May 2004, couple weeks after Poland joined the European Union and by extension the Schengen area. For those of you who don't know what the Schengen Agreement is, it's the greatest document ever signed, and both US Declaration of Independence and Constitution can suck its dick. It guarantees freedom of movement for all citizens of participating countries across most of Europe without even stopping at the borders. If you live in a country that treats all of its people like terrorists, it may be hard to imagine, but most of Europe's borders are just signs with the name of the country you're entering and a list of speed limits for different types of roads and vehicles. Outside of the main roads, it may not be delineated at all. The only situation when you have to go through a border check is when you're carrying large amounts of cargo for sale and have to pay an import tax. Another thing I should explain is military service. All adult men have to go through the evaluation process where they are assigned a category of ability to serve in army. Before 2008, if you were found able to do so, you had to go through 9 months of actual training. It is slightly more complex because this could be postponed if you were still studying or had a difficult family situation, so if you turned 18 as early as 2002, you could still miss it by attending some form of university. The fact is that my father turned 20 in the January of 1981, went to the army in June, and the martial law was introduced in December as a response to the growing political unrest. It wasn't peachy, a lot of people were killed for opposing the government, and the abuse of human rights was a daily occurrence, but the only part of it that is relevant to the story is that suddenly All district borders were under scrupulous control and you needed a permit to cross them. See where I am going? Despite being a soldier, my dad maintained high enough rank where the political situation didn't really concern him. So, as every other weekend, he took a leave and drove to my mom's home. Except this time, he not only needed a permit from his commanding officer to leave the base, he needed government permit to go from one city to another. Remember Jorge Costava? That sketchy-looking guy who tried to cross our Toscan border time and time again, once even presenting a passport obviously drawn in crayons? Imagine my father approaching the border check, handing in his documents to a group of soldiers with assault rifles in their hands, with a cheerful smile and a friendly hello. He goes right past them. Because his papers were legit, he didn't have any issues obtaining them. This letter has been a huge waste of everyone's time. Join me in 2 weeks as we discuss MechWarrior Online and I share a completely irrelevant story of how I drove to IKEA for the first time and absolutely nothing of note happened. Kmis, signing off.
Alright, that was Kyle and Kimmis with their thoughts on Papers, Please. I have to say, I don't really have much... Oh, there's my phone. I don't really have
much... You forgot
to
turn off from last time.
Yeah, I'm not going to go in and edit it. I don't really have much to add to either of them, except for Kimmis. I wish that they would have spent some more time playing it, and I would still love to hear at some point some stories. Like, that's just... I hate to make them sound like, I don't know, some kind of weird experiment or whatever, but, I mean, that's just fascinating. Just that perspective that I will never have, being, one, an American, and two, someone who grew up post-Cold War.
Yeah, I'm right on the edge of the Cold War myself. In a late elementary school, I want to say 4th or 5th grade is when the Berlin Wall came down for me.
Yeah.
So I vaguely remember the tension from the Cold War, but it really wasn't there because my living memory, it's the Soviet Union already collapsing,
right,
or is already falling apart,
right. So yeah, that was really interesting. Thank you, Kimmis, for getting what you did to send into us, and I would love to hear more at some point in the future. Okay, so let's talk about what game won the poll.
Yeah, the voting. The poll and actually the voting counts for everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, I suppose. So let's talk about what game won the voting for the next Game Club, and then
we'll open up the new poll because we're changing how the voting works.
Yep.
Yeah, we're redrawing the lines because we are wanting to get our candidate in office.
Yes. Yes, we are.
Some gerrymandering.
Okay, so let's go take a look at the straw poll. Just to make sure
I have
nothing
the poll up. It's hasn't changed.
Okay.
Okay, so Warframe 0 votes. Oh, and Warface got 2 votes for 20%, which means our winner is MechWarrior Online with 8 votes.
Oh yeah, gonna fight some mechs with bigger mechs.
Yeah, so we're going to the far future, into the BattleTech world.
Oh yeah. So that will be in 2 weeks. We will be discussing MechWarrior Online.
Yeah, this is going to be less story and more gameplay mechanics. Probably not a long game club, to be perfectly honest.
Well, there's a lot of lore stuff in there that, as someone who's a fan of the BattleTech universe and who has read...
True. You're going to be able to go into it because I vaguely remember playing MechWarrior 4, but that was about it.
Yeah, I've played both Mech Commander games. I've played 3 of the MechWarrior games, both Mech Assaults, and then I've read a dozen or so of the MechWarrior books.
Nerd.
Yeah, I am. So, I mean, I don't, there's some lore in there. I haven't played enough, especially in the galactic battle, the clan battle mode to see exactly how much is there, but got 2 weeks to explore that. And this leads us to our next poll, or our next voting. We realized that it would be nice to have more time to allow people to vote, and we can talk about it.
Yeah, especially since people may be a bit behind.
Yeah.
Because let's put it this way. We put out a lot of content.
Yeah, we do. The only other podcaster I know of that does a show that's 3 hours every week is the Co-Optional podcast. I'm sure there's some more out there, but that's the only one that I know of other than us. So we do a lot of stuff. It takes some dedication to get through our podcast every week, which we love and appreciate you for. But to give people more time to be able to vote on the games for the Game Club, every time that we have a Game Club now, we're going to have the next poll prepared so that you get 2 weeks to come and vote, and we'll be able to talk about it an extra time before
you get
the next
13 days instead of 6.
Yep.
Because I typically put this up around noon on Wednesday.
Right. So our next, or for this voting for the next Game Club, the 3 games that we chose.
Yeah, and I realized, after we talked about trying to remain neutral, there's no way that we're going to be able to do this because we are, at least one of us will know of the game a lot more. Especially mine this time around.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't really, we are choosing the games every week for them to vote on. I mean, they get the final say in the choice that we give them, but the 2 of us pick the games, so we're not exactly neutral.
Yeah, true.
Okay, so the game that we decided together would be a good one to put on the list this week was Path of Exile. That is a free-to-play ARPG.
I have a little bit of experience of it. Not a terrible amount, though. How about you?
I have some experience. I tried it once a couple of years ago.
I know that it is very Diablo 2-esque.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and your choice is?
My choice was Ruse, which is a strategy game.
I'm pretty sure the multiplayer is dead for it.
That's okay. The single-player campaign is amazing. I didn't actually beat it when I played it before, but I got probably halfway through. It's a great single-player campaign, so...
Okay, and mine, I'm going to be cheeky, and I'm going to give the complete title of it. Slaves to Armok, God of Blood, Chapter 2, Dwarf Fortress. Yep. Or, as it's known usually, Dwarf Fortress. The game that absolutely decimated, my opinion, of most settlement management games, because this game has been in development for, it just passed its 10th anniversary of development. And trust me, it shows. Granted, the UI is a little confusing, but it is one of the deepest games out there. And it's one of those games that requires a bit of dedication to be able to get into, but once you do, you realize that a lot of the smaller city management games, your Banished or even RimWorld, really feels very shallow.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here thinking, are these people going to make me play this game finally? Because it's been a thing that you've been mentioning for like 3 or 4 months at this point.
Yeah, and that's why it's on the list.
So, are you guys going to make me play it, or are we going to play something else that is less head desk-y?
Dwarf Fortress isn't that bad. You could toy around with the settings and make it a lot easier to be able to get that initial startup.
Excellent. Easy mode it is.
I mean, you're able to generate the world where you're given a lot more points to prepare your colony. Well, Dwarf Fortress also has 2 modes. That's the thing. Everyone talks about the Fortress mode, where it's essentially building your settlement, sort of like how RimWorld is. As a matter of fact, Dwarf Fortress is essentially a genre definer of the small city management game. The large city management is, of course, SimCity, until EA kind of fucked that up in 2013. But Dwarf Fortress is the smaller scale one.
Yeah. So those are the games for this voting.
Yep, and that poll will run, let's see, till October 11th.
Is that really what 2?
Oh, sorry, that's for the October 11th Game Club that runs till the 27th.
Okay. Cool.
I wanted to give the proper Game Club, and I said I was going to run to. That's for the October 11th Game Club, and the whole runs till the 27th.
Right. Okay. Well, with that now out of the way, let us move on.
You're just trying to get far away from Dwarf Fortress.
No, it's fine. I'm just watching the time. I mean, somebody's got to run this show. That job just happens to fall into me. So it's kind of like herding cats.
Especially when we have a guest, which I'm kind of working on.
Yeah. Anyways, let's go to our weekly community corner, which we have one audio letter from Kyle this week, who is going to be telling us about stuff in Fallout 3.
Yeah, he's talking about the Fat Man, and
Fat Man.
he's not referring to Jared this time.
Nope, not this time. I have to say, Kyle, I knew all of the things that you said in this audio letter before. You started talking, and I was like, "Ooh, I remember watching the special about this on the History Channel back when they actually used to produce historical content."
Yeah, I went to the History Channel talking about the Davy Crockett.
Yeah. So.
Well, in between talking about Hitler. What? The History Channel used to be the Hitler Channel.
They did. They talked about Hitler and World War II a lot.
And now they talk about aliens.
Aliens.
I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens.
And Pawn Stars.
Well, I have a guy that knows a lot about aliens. I want to bring him in.
I've got a guy who's going to give us an audio letter. His name is Kyle.
Greetings, J. Arthur and Caffeine Rage. This is Kyle coming at you with a bit of randomness about Fallout 3. It's going to be a fun romp through science and math, so let's do this. So let's talk about what I think to be one of the least practical weapons in the game, the mini-nuke, which can only be detonated when you launch it from a Fat Man. Now, the question to me is, why is this weapon in the game? I mean, the world was blown up by nukes, so why would there be little battlefield-sized nukes just laying around everywhere? Surely, this has no parallel in the real world. Well, looking into it a bit, while I was doing my research this week, I came across the M29 recoilless rifle and the nuclear munition that could be launched from it. It was a sub-kiloton device with a yield of about 0.001 kiloton, or about 50 to 20 tons of TNT. Now, this weapon had a huge drawback. The recoilless rifle that fired the 51-pound warhead couldn't actually fire it beyond the resulting fallout range, so it was a desperation weapon to say the least. However, this nuclear munition, nicknamed the Davy Crockett, had one field test in Nevada before the idea was scrapped completely. The battlefield use for this was to stop communists in large numbers in Korea, Germany, and, if need be, China. Now, none of these came to fruition, and thank God, because if Armageddon was that portable, we would have blown ourselves up a long time ago. So let's get back to Fallout 3, the mini-nuke. Why is it a terrible weapon? Well, first things first. Exactly how big is the mini-nuke? Well, the mini-nuke itself, according to the Fallout Wiki, is roughly the size of an American football, and it weighs about 12 pounds. Now, the Wiki itself was pretty tight-lipped about the detonating yield on this device, so what I had to do was I took a look at the only real-world analog that I could, the Davy Crockett, and worked backwards from there by doing math, and I came up with what I feel like is an actually pretty decent guess as to the yield of the mini-nuke, roughly 5 tons of TNT. But how much exactly is 5 tons of TNT? Well, 5 tons of TNT would fit pretty comfortably in the back of a semi-truck, and the blast radius and the resulting shockwave would have about a 1,000-foot blast radius. Now, the blast radius is kind of one of the problems, but again, we'll swing back to that. A nuclear chain reaction for a bomb has 3 major parts. You have the fireball, the shockwave, and the vacuum, so let's cover them in sequential order. The fireball is the first thing that happens after a nuclear bomb reaches what's called critical mass and manages to break apart the housing that is containing it. Now, the mini-nuke seems to be a plutonium-238 device just based on shape and the fact that a uranium device would be a much longer chapstick-looking design. The other thing that I know is it definitely does not have any lithium-3 as a secondary fuel to make it a thermonuclear device, because the Fallout Wiki just says fission. Lithium-3 results in fusion. Okay, but the fireball, I hear you say. How big would it be? Well, rule of thumb, it's going to be roughly 1.6 times bigger than the device's core. So let's just be generous and say that the entire device contains most of the core. So 1.6 times size the American football would probably be about the size of a watermelon. Now, this is a very, very hot fireball, hotter than the surface of the sun, and that's not even the worst part of it. The worst part of it is it releases a bunch of exotic particles, such as alpha radiation, beta radiation, and gamma radiation, all of which present interesting problems to your health. Okay, so let's talk about the particles. Alpha radiation, okay, that's going to be your least concerning one, considering alpha radiation can be blocked basically by paper. Beta radiation, okay, if you're wearing any sort of metal armor, you should be okay-ish, considering it can be stopped by tinfoil. Gamma radiation, that's going to be the killer simply because it's a wave, and unless you're wearing some sort of lead-lined armor, well, you're fucked. So when you hear about radiation sickness, that's usually gamma radiation that they're talking about. And the way gamma radiation kills you is it basically liquefies you. You can look up on your own how it does this, but it's very graphic and gross, and I don't really want to spend a lot of time talking about it. Instead, I want to talk about the LD50 for gamma radiation off of a mini nuke. The LD50, or lethal dose 50, refers to a range, in this case about gamma radiation from the mini nuke, where it will kill 50% of the people exposed to it. So let's figure this out. Gamma radiation follows the inverse square property of intensity, much like light, because it too is a wave. So, if you are 1 meter away from the bomb, you'll get X rems. If you're 2 meters away from the bomb, you'll get a quarter of that amount, and so on and so forth. Now, that means that getting fairly far away from the bomb is okay. Now, without boring you with the math, I found out that it's roughly about 500 feet from the bomb is the LD50. So, if you're more than 500 feet away from the detonation, you'll be okay, asterisk. Now you're thinking, great, I just need to be more than 500 feet away from this detonation. Well, hold on there, Skippy. That's just the LD50. You can still die from gamma radiation, you'll just have a much less likely chance of it. So, okay, let's talk about the second part of the explosion, the shockwave. Now, the shockwave is, much like it sounds, the explosive force behind the blast, and it's going to go about 1,000 feet before it starts petering off. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to stop like there's some invisible wall at that range. It just means that after that it starts losing a lot of its explosive force. It's also very dependent on the geography in which you fire the mini nuke. For example, if you fire it in the National Mall and it goes into one of the trenches, it's going to be less effective than if you fired it on an open field. And unfortunately for you, the Fat Man actually can't launch it more than 1,000 feet away unless you have a pretty good elevation differential between you and the target, where you are higher than the target. Okay, so let's say that you manage to fire it off of a mountain into a field full of super mutants. What is the last thing that's going to happen? Well, what causes the mushroom clouds on most atomic devices, it's what's called the vacuum. The shockwave pushes everything out of the way, including the air. And close enough to the device, eventually physics takes back over, and the negative pressure inside of that blast bubble cannot sustain itself against the atmospheric pressures that are surrounding it. So it scoops up a lot of the material that was basically thrown away from the blast and kicks it up into the air, and it makes a cloud of, well, death. I mean, I can get into that at some other point, but the worst part of it is strontium-90. That all having been said, why is the mini nuke still a stupid weapon? I mean, you could fire it from the top of a building and probably be okay, right? Now, the real reason that the mini nuke is stupid is because it wouldn't actually blow up. No, wait. Yes, I know, I hear you saying it's a video game, there are weird rules in play here. But let's think about this. The Davy Crockett at 56 pounds, and mind you, most of that is payload, is at the bare minimum mass that you need for a nuclear payload in order to trigger a fission reaction. The mini nuke is simply too small. It doesn't have enough nuclear fuel. Not to mention, if it is a plutonium-238 device like I suspect, the batteries in it, yes, nuclear devices have batteries, are probably long dead unless they're somehow rechargeable. See, a plutonium-238 device uses both geometry and what's called proximity circuits in order to detonate. The proximity circuits cause a shockwave to go evenly through a core of plutonium-238 to cause fission at the center, which will expand outward, consuming the nuclear fuel and eventually causing a nuclear chain reaction. And unfortunately for Fallout, the mini nuke is just too small for that. So if the mini nuke is impractical, both from a physics standpoint and a gameplay standpoint and a you dying standpoint, why include it? Well, I was talking to Meliora over dinner about this, and we came up with it. It's to make the big gun stat less useless. See, we could only come up with 2 big guns that present themselves in gameplay. The minigun and the rocket launcher. Now, yes, I know the Tesla coil is also a big gun, but it's also a very limited use gun because it's only used in the Brotherhood of Steel missions. The mini nuke is there to make sure that you don't feel like you're wasting points in those areas of big guns and, making sure that you can fire huge guns longer ranges. I don't know, I might be overthinking this, but it is always fun to bust out the old nuclear physics knowledge now and again. That brings me back. Maybe I'll tell that story another time. Anyways, I hope y'all are having a good night and I didn't overwhelm you with this. Alright, talk to you later.
Alright, there's Kyle telling us about game stuff and nukes.
Yeah, and how the fat man doesn't really live up to the ZIF division, was it? Or the ZIF distribution. Because it's kind of in there just to fill out the big gun stat, but there's not enough big guns really to make it feel like it's worthwhile.
Yeah. The big gun stat is one that I never used in Fallout for that exact reason. It's like, well,
here's the thing, especially with Fallout 3, is that there is really no reason or no place for the big guns. The fat man you could use on the behemoths, the guys that are wielding fire hydrants clubs.
Yeah.
And that's about it. There's never a time that you need that firepower.
Yeah. I mean, you can still use it for funsies, but it's so really heavy. Comes down.
Well, it's so heavy, and also it's really meant to be an area denial weapon. Take out a bunch of guys at once. But you never have that big battle. The big battle that you have in Fallout 3 is with Liberty Prom, and Liberty Prom just decimates everything. It's Liberty Prom is a reverse escort mission. I just realized that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's escorting you. I never really sat down and thought about the Liberty Prom sequence. It's one of those things that, it's just watching all the explosions, and it's literally a reverse escort mission where you're being escorted, but you're never really in danger in that sequence, because by the time you're there, you're seriously overpowered. You're in full power armor, most likely.
Yeah. I never thought about it that way either. That's pretty cool, though. It's nice that I'm the one being babysat this time instead of having to do the babysitting. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and also another reason why the mini nuke is kind of useless is that the ammo for it is just so limited. Never mind that, you would kill yourself with it, or, it's more of a dirty bomb than an actual nuclear explosive. Because he mentioned that the ammo itself wasn't large enough to actually make the nuclear explosive, so it'd be just a dirty bomb, right?
Yeah.
Which, I'm sure that would kill the raiders eventually.
They would all get cancer and die.
Well, to be fair, I think, getting cancer in the Fallout universe isn't a question. It's more of not if, but when. Yeah. Because everything is irradiated.
And does the cancer turn you into a super mutant or not?
Or do you just turn into a tree? Granted, that's not the cancer. That was actually a government weapon.
Yeah. So, yeah, did you... I didn't really have anything to add other than I was aware of all that stuff. And I haven't...
The Davy Crockett was an interesting thing. It's probably my second favorite weapon, real-world weapon, just because of how stupid it is.
What's your favorite real-world weapon?
My favorite real-world... well, I should say my favorite real-world, just weird weapon is the gyrojet.
Ooh. That was yawn. The gyrojet. Is that the World War II German plane?
No. The gyrojet is a jet or a rocket handgun.
Oh. That's interesting.
You never heard of this? It's literally a gun that shoots little rocket-propelled bullets.
That's amazing. No, I don't think I've ever seen anything about this before. I've got the Wikipedia page open. I know what I'll be reading later.
Now Kyle's going to be writing us about the gyrojet.
That's pretty cool. It seems horribly impractical, but cool.
It's horribly impractical. It's not accurate because of how the ammunition was manufactured. The firing mechanism was absolutely insane because there wasn't it didn't have a traditional firing pin. Instead, the bullet was forced back. The complete bullet was forced back on the firing pin instead of the firing pin striking the back of the bullet.
Yeah. That's yeah.
But it's recoilless, so it does have that going for it.
Yeah. I've never thought about what weird weapons that I like. Maybe I'll think about that and come back to it later.
Fallout also has another weird weapon that I really like, the rocket launcher. The Rock-It launcher. You remember it?
The Rock-It. Oh, is that... Yeah.
The gun that shoots random props?
Yeah.
Yeah, I made a habit of collecting every plunger I could and using that. But the thing is that because of how the game spawned the prop in, instead of launching it like you would imagine, like the plunger end going forward, it would be the plunger straight down and going out. And it didn't have physics on it, so it wouldn't tumble. It wouldn't have aerodynamic forces on it. So you just see this plunger, like it's stuck straight up and down and just going out and hitting people. My second favorite ammo for it was teddy bears.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's just something about killing a super mutant with a plunger.
I always liked what was it called? The railway rifle that made a train sound every time you shot a railroad spike at someone.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing.
I like trains.
No, that is a useful weapon.
Fair play. Fair play.
The rocket launcher was absolutely pointless because it based its damage on how heavy an object you were launching. And unless you're launching something very heavy and then going back and getting it, it's not going to do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Well, at least in the later game. In the early game, when you're first able to get it, if you rush it, then it's actually a fairly powerful weapon. But it's just later game, it's absolutely useless.
Yeah. So, yeah. Thanks for the audio litter, Kyle. How many tweets do we have this week?
We don't have a ton of tweets. We have a few, though. Let's see. First of all, we have the question of the week.
Right.
Yeah, and I actually found something that wasn't related to No Man's Sky.
Yeah, I saw what the question was.
Do you support paid expansions for early access games? And it turns out we have a bunch of cheap bastards. First up is Groove, and he had a few tweets here. Depends heavily on a game. If a game like Kerbal did that, back when it was in the early access days, I'd be okay with it. But it'd be mostly an unfinished game where you didn't know yet if it was going to be good, I wouldn't support it. Also, a content that isn't necessary to play the game in an appropriate way shouldn't be locked behind a paywall. Oh, sorry, the content that is necessary. Yeah, basically going back to Ark, some of the stuff that's locked behind the paywall is very, very powerful.
Yeah.
So that's where some of that sentiment comes from.
Yeah.
Let's see, Chemist, fuck no.
I'm not sure I understand what you mean by that, Chemist. You care
There's
to
always
elaborate?
a good chance. There's already a good chance devs are withholding content for normal DLC. Never mind day negative one pre-launch DLC. Let's see, Kyle, fuck no. It pulls focus away from the main development priorities, which is true. Unless this is a completely third party building this DLC, it's going to take development time.
Yeah.
And that's what pissed some people off as well. And that's all the question of the week answer. So we have a couple of tweets.
Okay.
We have Hidden Relic showing up. He's a Kerbalcast alum.
Yay.
Well, I've started listening. So many hours of audio, so little time. Any recommendations on where to start? Well, I tweeted back to him. VGL is very, very episodic. I mean, granted, we have our memes and our running gags, our Whipping Boy, which has gone from Evolve to Battleborn now with a little bit of No Man's Sky thrown in there.
Yeah.
But overall, you can just really jump in. Granted, the previous episode that he was asking this on was our Game Club game for To the Moon, which is not exactly our normal format.
No.
Because that Game Club just ended up taking over the entire show. For a good reason, I might add. I mean, that was a very good discussion.
Yeah.
But, if you want to get into VGL and want to know exactly what's going on, To the Moon's Game Club may not be for you.
Yeah. I would say, though, just jump in whenever. Yeah. I mean, if you do show this podcast to someone and they're like, oh my God, this is overwhelming, just tell them to jump in on the most recent episode or two,
Yeah, well, also, we are still working on that supercut, aren't we?
Yeah. Although no one has sent me any suggestions. Send me suggestions, please. But yeah, just jump on in. If you want to go back and listen to all the old episodes, I would be honored, but you really don't have to for this show.
Okay, I'm going back to just double checking, making sure that I didn't miss any tweets, and we actually had tweets during the recording, so I'll add those in.
Wow, what did we get?
We got Amy K showing up.
Oh yeah, I saw where she tweeted just a minute ago.
But Kyle tweeted out his Fat Hitler. Fat Hitler losing the battle for his bulge. And then Groove 1-0 for the belly button versus Fat Hitler. And Kyle looks like he just went through Mind Snack Off. So he isn't as hungry as before. The people will more often eat a big pie than a small one. Adolf Chunkster Hitler. Kyle, you really are the worst.
But worst. You're the worst.
Okay, now going over to Amy. She tweeted out a few days ago, badger trapping tips. And she said, I call cruel and unusual. Well, Amy, respond to us.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're going to have to get the trap. And she also responded, oh, hang on, I just got another notification. Oh, that's you liking it.
Yep, that was me.
Saying they definitely did do the stupid for the PS4 Pro. So a couple from Amy, we've actually heard from her. And Amy, we only pick on you because you don't respond to us. Okay, we only pick on you more because you don't respond to us.
Yeah, if you'd actually respond to us, then we wouldn't pick on you
as much. And that's really all the tweets. Whenever you boil it down, there was a little bit of editing once again, but not too much. You didn't make that big a mess this week.
Yeah.
Because a fair amount of the tweets I cut out was Chemist talking about his project, which he's already talked about by this point.
Right. Okay.
So if you wish to contact us, you do so by sending a letter, either text or audio. Granted, we haven't had a text letter in quite a while.
No. The only text we get is Chemist's
script.
Script.
So if you don't have to sit down and record your audio letters, so you can send text, and we will stumble through them. You can do that by sending it over to vglpodcast@gmail.com, or if you wish to just appear in the Twitter feed, you do so by sending it over to VGL Podcast over on Twitter. And there's always the curator group as well, or the Steam group, which does have its curator as well.
Yeah.
steamcommunity.com/group/VGL Podcast.
All right.
Okay, now you can go.
Well, with that out of the way, that means it's time to go to a bathroom break. Because
Gotta go play with your Wii.
My alcohol and my tea and my water have gone through me. And then when we come back from that, we'll have the Steam Weekly Deals discussion. now that I'm back from my bathroom break, let's go to our Steam Weekly Deals discussion.
Which I'm kind of breaking the mold of as well.
Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with going outside of Steam. It's just Steam's deals this week sucked.
Why do you think? Kind of went outside of things to begin with. Granted, I was probably going to have to anyway. It's just they made it a little bit easier for me.
Yeah. So, what is your first game, sir?
My first one is Resonance.
Resonance.
It is a point-and-click adventure. Point and click is one of those genres that kind of died off for quite a while, but it's made a resurgence in the last, I want to say 5 years. Partly thanks to Telltale, kind of revitalizing things. And this has an interesting way of dealing with it, where you don't really have an inventory per se. I mean, you do, but you also have memories that open up new topics. So it's a point-and-click adventure with a little bit more gameplay that you would otherwise have.
Yeah. It's got a nifty-looking art style.
Yeah, it has a pixel art style that would fit right in the sort of like the mid-90s. And also, it has voiceover work by Logan Cunningham, who we've praised several times on this show.
Have we? I'm drawing a blank.
Bastion.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I'm not sure who that person is, but now, okay.
Yeah, it's voiced over by Logan Cunningham, and I think this was his first game that he did outside of Bastion, so... And, he has just an amazing voice to begin with.
Yeah.
And I haven't beat this game. I've played a fair chunk of it. The memory system is a little bit fiddly at times because you may know what you have to do, but you still have to figure out, okay, I need to grab this in order to do it. But that's more a problem with the point-and-click genre as a whole, rather than this game's little twist on it.
Right.
And also, this game is dirt cheap right now. It's normally $10, which is still pretty cheap for a point-and-click. But it's on sale right now for 80% off, bringing it down to $1.99.
Sweet. I might actually pick this up. Between the nifty art... I mean, I haven't played a point-and-click in a while, but between the nice art style and... what did you say his name was? Logan
Cunningham.
Logan Cunningham. And him doing...
This does go between several protagonists, and I think later on they meet up. But I'm not 100% sure on that.
Yeah.
And after Steam trading cards is probably about $1.50.
Yeah. I'll probably pick this up this week, actually. Don't know if I'll actually get around to playing it this week, but I'll probably pick it up. Okay, well, my first game is Echelon Wind Warriors. I know I've talked about this game before, but I can't remember if I talked about it in a positive or negative light. It's got some good points and some bad points to it. I really
hope the screenshots aren't what it looks like in game, because that's a very tiny shot against the background.
No, the screenshots are really crappy. I mean, it's an old game. So
I realize that it's going to be low resolution, but they make it even worse by having it like that.
Yeah, I don't know if they were just trying to be like fancy or maybe trying to hide the fact that it's an older game, but no, it's much larger. It's a larger resolution than that. But anyways, I know I've talked about Echelon before. I don't know if I talked about it positively or negatively, but since I've got my joystick out, I've been messing with stuff.
You're going to get arrested.
Yeah, I am. It's going to be awesome.
And then you're going to run around like that guy in the game I played this week.
Absolutely. But anyways, since I've had my joystick out messing with stuff, I opened this game up and played around with it a little bit. And it is pretty decent with a joystick. I think before my joystick was put away and I was trying to play it with keyboard and mouse, it's impossible to play with keyboard and mouse. Maybe if you spent like an hour going between the training or the test flight portion where you can just fly around and constantly messing with your controls, you could get it working. But this game straddles the line between arcade and sim. Like, you can do all kinds of stuff, like outfit your plane with different weapon loadouts and change like missile arming ranges and things on the fly, and you can control each of your engines separately if you so desire to pull off some crazy aerial maneuvers and stuff like that. But it's sci-fi space, space magic adventure where that everything just like seems so implausible and impractical, but it's cool. So it kind of straddles the line between arcade and simulation in that respect. But there's so many things. It's so fiddly to try and play with just a keyboard and mouse. But if you've got a flight stick, then it becomes all right. You can use, your keyboard to do your throttle and a couple other things, and then use the flight stick for actual maneuvering and shooting and that sort of thing. And it's all right that way. Like I said, it's an old game. According to Steam, it released in 2004. So it does not support 16 by 9 resolutions. So you're stuck in 4 by 3. But it does support a wide range of 4 by 3 resolutions. So you can make something work. And it's still a pretty decent game. It's a lot of sci-fi stuff, airplanes and ground units and things like that. It's set in the future. So it still holds up all right graphically. I mean, you can tell it's dated, but it doesn't look awful, Normally, it is $4. It's 75% off, so it is a whole $1. It also has It also has trading cards, so probably 50 cents, 50 to 75 cents, if you harvest and sell the cards.
Harvest them. People scoff at the trading cards, but they add up.
Yeah.
I actually looked with Steam Enhanced just to see how much money I made through Steam trading cards. Did you see me tweet that out?
No.
Well, granted, I was responding to a friend of mine who was saying that trading cards aren't worth the time. Let's see. Let's get my running total because this is going to be fun. Let's see. Community market. That's where it's listed. Scroll all the way down. Wait for it to process. Come on. Okay, I got my total. Code a guess?
$100.
Nope.
How much?
$321.41.
Holy shit. That's good.
Granted, that is my market total, so I have sold a few other things other than just trading cards. I've sold some old TF2 stuff, but not much.
Where do I go to check this out?
If you have Steam Enhanced installed,
I do.
Go into your browser and just go to steamcommunity.com/market, or just on community, hit market.
Yeah.
And then scroll all the way down to the bottom. Yeah, it's underneath the advanced options and browse by game, which is completely useless because there's more games there than what that feature's used for now.
Yeah, I've got $96.14 of sales total. So sweet, almost $100.
Yeah. You guessed yours pretty much on the nose.
Yeah.
But then again, here's the thing: is that I've sold an absolute ton of cards.
Well, I mean, if you'd asked me how much do you think that you've sold, I would have said probably like $50. And even then, I would have thought I was being a little generous, but I guess not.
Yeah, I'm eligible booster packs. This is the games that I've gotten all my trading cards for. I'm up to 748 games that I'm eligible for booster packs for.
Nice. We're going to go see that. Badges?
Badges, yeah, and at the top. And right now I have 2 games I'm eligible for. It looks like one is worth quite a bit, but again, the review codes are just going out for it, so the cards are very rare. And I should have been idling this entire time.
According to this, I have 223 games eligible for booster packs. Cool.
Yeah. But the perk of a large library like that is that I get a booster pack every 9 days, almost like clockwork.
I usually get a booster pack every 2 to 3 weeks. I get at least one a month, sometimes 2 a month. But it's not clockwork.
Yeah, mine. I've been actually keeping track, and it's 9 days on the nose every time. So, speaking of like clockwork, should we move on to my other game?
Right? Yes, we should do that.
Yeah, enough of the digressions. Let's get on to some actual content.
Right.
My other game is a non-Steam game, for a good reason, I might add. And I'm actually dealing a deal with the devil here. It's a Uplay game, The Crew. The Crew is an MMO racing game that's gotten some mixed opinions, to be perfectly frank. It's very, very arcadey, and some of the races do go on for quite a while, which the arcade nature of the game can be a little frustrating, because if you're racing against AI, it can rubber band rather strongly. But here's the thing. Here's the reason why I'm recommending The Crew. It's the price tag. The Crew is going on sale for nothing. It's going to be the Ubisoft 30th anniversary game for, I believe it's September's game. Because they do this weird thing where it's straddling the middle of the month. Yeah, they're listing in September. As we're recording this, Rayman Origins is being given away for free, which is also a really good game. And I don't think I mentioned it because I think when the changeover happened, we had a week off. I think that was actually the week that your power went out.
Maybe. I don't remember what the list had for games on it then, so.
No, I know I haven't recommended Rayman Origins, so if the changeover doesn't happen to The Crew, Rayman Origins will be there instead for the link, which is still a pretty good game.
Right.
But like I said, it's a free game, so, and the Steam sale this week was not all that great, so I thought throw in a freebie instead.
Right.
And I do like my racers a little arcadey, and The Crew does have a lot of content there, and they are giving this away to promote the upcoming expansion. And there's, I think, 5 different disciplines that you could go into, and there's a lot of content for each of them, and there's just different random challenges as well. So if you want a game to just dick around in and race around in, The Crew's not a bad choice anyway. It's just it never really got a deep discount, and now it's being given away for free.
Yeah.
And this is actually the second time it's been given away for free, but the first time on PC. Because you mentioned the first time.
Yeah, it was a free game on Xbox a couple of 3 months ago. If you had Xbox Live Gold.
Yeah, but the thing is you have to maintain gold. Here you get it and it's yours.
No, you don't have to maintain gold to keep it.
Well, I thought you needed gold to access it.
No, you need gold to get the games, and as long as you
okay.
add them to your library, you can... like, they're yours.
Yeah, all right. So I was mistaken there. Or at least for for that one.
Yeah.
So that wraps up the weekly picks.
Well, that wraps up your weekly picks.
Well, I should say my weekly picks because you still have yours.
Yep, my second pick is Hospital Manager on Steam. I think I've recommended this one before, too. But do you want to manage and maintain a hospital that's pretty colored and has a cartoony art style that looks almost like it should be a mobile game, but it actually isn't?
Well, I have a copy of Theme Hospital already.
I mean, that's pretty much what Hospital Manager is a spiritual successor, I guess, or an inspired by Theme Hospital. So
yeah, I'm looking for the funny diseases. Do they have funny diseases?
I've not seen one. I have this game. I've played it some. I've not seen a funny disease, although the zombies are in there, so I'm sure.
Oh, that was half the fun of Theme Hospital was having people come in and dressed as Elvis.
I haven't seen that. You can cure zombie disease, but I'm not.
Or let's see, having people come in with inflated heads, and you have to deflate them. Things like that.
Well, there's people that come in dressed as superheroes. I guess that's a wacky disease. And they advertise it. I just haven't seen very many. Well, like I said, I haven't played it a ton, maybe a couple hours. So
yeah. Let's see. Theme Hospital diseases. Let's see. There's Broken Wind, which you're farting. Chronic Nose Hair. Invisibility. The Squirts. King Complex. That's the Elvis one.
Nice.
Third Degree Sideburns.
Ew.
Kidney Beans. Calls about crunching up ice cubes and drinks. So yeah, there's that was part of the fun of Theme Hospital was saying, oh, this guy has the squirt because he's eating pizza found under the cooker.
Right, because that's where you want to get your pizza from.
Or this guy has TV personalities because he's been watching too much daytime television.
But so, anyways, I mean, basically, this is and inspired by Theme Hospital. Normally,
it's sitting right at 50% reviews as well.
Yeah, normally it's $5. It's 70% off, so it's $1.50. It's a fun game. I think it's worth $1.50. You play it for a couple 3 hours. I mean, the worst thing is you don't like it, and either you refund it or you've gone past the time, and well, then you're just SOL because Steam are dicks about that. But you know, I can play this game too. Oh.
Well, the thing is, I got a free copy of Theme Hospital when the EA was giving away free games. Before they shut down the On the House program. Or at least I haven't seen an update for On the House.
But, yep, so that does it for the weekly picks.
Okay.
And that brings us to the final portion of the show where we plug our stuff. And this is the time where I get to go first. So this week on my channel, the review for this week is Sword of the Stars, because I have been playing that, and obviously people who listen know that I'm also working on a tutorial series for that, which is not ready yet, but I went ahead and did a review for it, so that'll be up Sunday at noon. It's already scheduled. And then there's the usual stuff, Terraria, War Thunder. Now there is some Mech Warrior content. Mech Warrior Online.
Yeah, there's going to be a little bit of Rocket League.
Yep, there's going to be a little bit of Rocket League. Mech Warrior Online. And I'm trying to record... Well, I'm going to try to record Mech Warrior 4. I haven't done anything with that yet.
Yeah, I tried to record it before, and I was having some issues with it.
I'm really hoping...
But then again, I didn't spend too much time trying to work on it.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that XSplit records it just fine, because if it doesn't, that means I'm going to have to use OBS and probably have to do whole screen capture, because XSplit just captures windows. And that'll be fun. I haven't tried running it in borderless windowed mode yet. But I've only tried once. I launched the game.
Yeah, playing older games like that almost makes me want to get a hardware recording solution.
Yeah, same.
Or run a second computer. But, it's another whole kettle of fish to work with. And also a pretty big headache because it would be a sometimes thing, not my daily driver for recording.
Yeah. Excuse me. But, so, yep, short and sweet on that one. I don't have anything fancy or special I'm playing it for. Just doing a lot of work to try and get some original content going. I mean, we record our stuff, but something that I actually put effort into instead of just dicking around for 2 hours. Although I suppose I put effort into fighting all the pirates. And then effort into being mad.
And then giving up and wanting to play Rocket League instead.
Yes.
Which we picked about the worst week to skip on Terraria recording because we had a new update to check out.
You mean the best week? Because then we don't have to deal with it ruining stuff.
I'm a little bit tempted to try to find something else to record just in general.
Yeah.
Because Terraria has kind of petered out just where that jump from normal mode to hard mode.
Yep.
But part of it is just the RNG on the random events, taking us over. And also, trying to get the ore. I think part of our problem was that we weren't going deep enough and that we didn't destroy enough altars. We should have destroyed more altars.
That's what she said. Part of your problem is you're not going deep enough.
No, I thought it was that you weren't destroying enough altars.
Well, that too.
So we didn't release as much ore into the world as we could have. So maybe we stunted our progression there, but I'm convinced that you just cursed the world. I don't know how you did it, but you completely broke the world, Chen.
I wouldn't be surprised if somehow I broke something accidentally. It's kind of the story of my life. I break stuff accidentally all the time.
I mean, we got completely screwed on the biome distribution on the starting area to begin with. Because usually the snow biome isn't nearly that close to the starting area. So you'd have a wider area to work with.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just strange.
Well, what can I say? I don't like to do things by the book.
Yeah, instead we just have 3 pirate invasions.
Absolutely.
Fucking pirates.
Because that's the best solution. More pirates. Next we'll add ninjas.
And where else can they find you online?
Yeah. You can find me on YouTube by looking up Gaming Psychologist. You can follow me on Twitter at JMA4707, where I tweet about random things all the time. I'm going to be playing some MechWarrior 4 Mercenaries this week, so I'll probably have some tweets about that. You can also watch me stream video games on Wednesday and Friday nights over at twitch.tv/jarthur4707. And if you want to be my friend on Steam, just send a friend invite to jarthur4707. I will accept it, and we'll chat with you whenever you talk to me, unless I am either idling or have just left the Steam browser, or the Steam app.
Thingy.
Yeah, the Steam thingy open on my computer, and I'm actually...
And if you wish to let them know exactly what episode of the podcast you're joining them from, this week's passcode is Gaffe.
Is that in
Gaffe.
reference to when we started the Skype call and you hung up on me as a joke?
Actually, it was more of a reference to Sony fucking up and Steam maybe fucking up. But okay, we'll go with that as well.
Yeah, since we weren't recording or anything, listeners, Rage when he called me, what was it that I was doing?
You said, ready, Freddy. And I said, oh, so you don't need me this week? And I hung up.
Yeah. And I just busted out laughing. I laughed for like 10 or 15 seconds, and he called me back. I was still laughing. I just found that hilarious. Anyways, what about you, Rage? What's going on your channel this week? Where can they find you online?
Oh, well, like I started in the beginning of the podcast, contemplating what I want to do with RimWorld, just because I've recorded an absolute ton of it.
Right.
And the thing is, I have recorded, if I stick with my normal schedule, till mid-October, and I'm still not done with that settlement.
When exactly are you done on RimWorld? Is there like a goal if you manage to not die?
There's technically end game, but here's the thing: is that I'm my particular settlement is in such a defensive position that it's very hard to dislodge it.
Right. Okay.
And I've had a few things that happened that should have been a lot more dangerous, but they ended up not really being, just because of defenses. And I've also built up my defenses to work with it a little bit more.
Okay.
And also, and this is going to be the fun part, I haven't built a single turret yet. Everything is still colonists going out and shooting things.
Good job, colonists.
Oh, you're just happy because you're a 15-year-old lesbian.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, and if you wish to join the colony, by the way, I do accept names either through my Twitter or on the videos themselves, and I will add you. And if new people are added to the list, I re-randomize it for the remaining names, so you do have a chance to show up. Yeah, we actually got Hidden Relic in the last recording session. So he's in the colony.
Nice. Did he die immediately?
No. There has been a death in the colony, though.
Who died?
I'm not saying because it's still like 4 or 5 episodes away.
Oh, okay.
But it is a listener.
Good, so it's not me. That's all that matters.
Well, technically, you listen to this.
Technically, but I'm not just a listener.
No, trust me. If you died, I would have sent you the clip immediately. Yeah, there has been some injuries. There has been a death, but the thing is, the death is completely my fault because I fucked up.
Well, at least you're honest about it.
I didn't realize something. I was looking for information in the wrong place. And let's see, we've had heat waves that nearly cooked people. Aki's gone on the warpath a couple times. Then Groove has made rather rude art about him a couple times. It's just fun times all around. And the thing is that after this colony is done, I'm going to be toying around with my mod list some more and trying to make things a little bit more dangerous. Then again, it may also just be I'm in a defensive position already. So, yeah, everything has to come from pretty much one of two directions. So I could just build up my defenses that way.
Right.
Oh, but beyond RimWorld, because it seems like I talk about it a lot, but it is a very fun game.
You do, but that's okay. I mean,
Well, let's put it this way. If we get Dwarf Fortress, I'll probably be dislodging RimWorld with Dwarf Fortress for a couple of weeks at least.
Well, see, you've got 7 episodes recorded, and so you can do that.
Well, I actually have, counting what I already have uploaded on YouTube, first of all, it was 8 episodes. I recorded 7, and I wasn't at a stopping point. So I had to record an 8th. But I already had another 3 set up and ready on YouTube.
Yeah.
So I had 11 episodes ahead.
Nice.
And that's why I'm considering doing double episodes. But beyond RimWorld, Victor Vron is starting to come to the end of things. I've gotten past the filler content. And it was very blatant filler content as well. It's not, just a long area that you have to fight through. It was literally, well, you can go to the ending area now, but I'm not going to let you go there. You have to go fight these random bosses, because if you destroy the final demon, then it doesn't matter, because these demons are already in the world and they'll destroy everything anyway. So here, have some filler content. So yeah, that's slowly wrapping up. Granted, I think I needed to go grind some more because I'm starting to hit a difficulty spike. Which, it is an ARPG, so there is that grinding element there. And I haven't done it, so if it comes down to it, I will go to casual mode, which I have no idea what it does exactly, but I guess I may find out if need be. And then there's our co-op series, which is going to be taking a break next week, going from Terraria to Rocket League for a little bit of Rumble.
Right.
And we are talking about the possibility of doing something else with it, because Terraria has gotten to the point where it's not getting views, and we're honestly, well, at least I'm a little sick of it.
Yeah, I'm.
Well, it's the thing is that we haven't really gotten progression lately.
Yeah.
We're up to nearly 10 episodes without any real progression at all.
Yeah, we had accidental progression, and now there's been nothing.
Yeah, and also, even if we do find the ore, we need a ton of it to build armor to try to take on the bosses. So, yeah, it's something that we're going to have to talk about offline.
Yeah.
Or off recording, I should say. And as always, the podcast comes out on Fridays, like everywhere else. And the Sunday Sampler, which this week so far I've gotten not a lot, so I may have to go into the backlog and see what I have there. I mean, it's not like I don't have games, it's just, I haven't gotten anything new and exciting. Or at least not yet. Granted, Monday is usually the big day I get things, and didn't really get anything major this time around. I know. I didn't get free games this week. Woohoo, right? Oh, and you can find all of that content, and maybe actually some fun stuff. Well, people seem to be enjoying RimWorld at least. Over at Gaming with Caffeine Rage on YouTube, or you could just, you could catch the links on Twitter as well, and I randomly tweet other things. Over at Gaming with CR on Twitter. Well, if you wish to support us financially, you could do so over on our Patreon, patreon.com/VGL podcast. Or you could always support the Internet Archive as well for unknowingly supporting us. The Internet Archive is awesome, by the way, and hosts not only us, but now the archives of Kerbalcast.
Yep.
And we did get a bump up in our donations as well.
Yeah, we did.
On Patreon. Should
we say?
I'll leave that up to you.
I don't remember if he said we could say or not.
He never said if we could or not, and I'm not sure if he told us before.
Be Cool gave us more money.
Okay.
Also known as Cube.
Yeah, because he's cool like that.
Yeah, he's pretty cool.
And if you wish to also be cool and contact us, you could do so by sending an email over to vglpodcast@gmail.com. Text letters, audio letters, comments about Jared's joystick.
Boink.
Or you could just tweet us over on Twitter at VGL Podcast. And there's always Kyle's comics that I'm retweeting whenever he sends them in. And I'm a little scared what he may write about this week. And, well, if you are watching this on YouTube and want to catch the RSS feed, you could do so on our website, videogamelogicpodcast.blogspot.com, which also houses the show notes, which Jared forgot to mention, also has the timestamps.
No, I said that.
You did?
I said it after the topics.
I may have blanked out.
I said it after I read the topics list this week.
Okay, I may have just blanked out there for a moment, but then again, it's also been 3 hours.
And yeah, it has been.
Oh, and well, if you don't use RSS but want to catch the podcast in audio form anyway, we are also on iTunes and Google Play. Our intro and outro music is On the Ground by Kevin McLeod, and you can find his work at incompetech.com.
And as his lovely music starts to roll across my voice, bye-bye now.
See you next time.
Bye-bye. Piano solo from the Romantic era.
Yep.
Okay.
Because I am civilized when I say the word fuck a lot.
Civilized as fuck.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here with a top hat on and a monocle.
Brilliant.
Smashing.
Poop poop, Drew. All right. Okay.
And all those generic stereotypes.
Hello, love. Hello, love. The cowboy's here.
Quick, let's get Dick Van Dyke to teach us how to do accents.
Welcome to the 7-Eleven. I am being a racist right now. But this is one of the only accents I can do. Oh, that's gotta go in. Gotta own it. Gotta put that in there as an outtake.
Yeah, that's the after the credits.